I can always retitle it another day. Yay.
Jessie comes on.
I'll be all right.
I'm curious to see what he's gonna have to say. I know he's gonna probably continue on with frequencies and that, which I love what he's doing, by the way. I love how he did that. I've done everything that I have to 432. I did it like 8 years ago. And anything I create, I put to 432. But the other frequencies that he's put things at, I haven't figured that out yet, how to do that.
I'm still trying to figure out for the frequencies and stuff if what I'm listening to, even though I try to set it on the computer, but like if I'm on my phone, what I got to figure out is like when I'm listening to pure tone hertz in the Bluetooth speaker in my bathroom, is that actually the hertz that I'm playing? Probably not. But if I distort it, or as if somebody is actually doing what they said they're doing, yeah.
You'll be able to tell because you'll feel. Like when I listen to, like when I upload stuff, and if I put it on YouTube for a while and I'm listening to it, I'll notice it will get me like, the aggressive like feeling. Whereas if I listen to it after I've run it through at 432, I could listen to it all day. So I think they're still playing with that algorithm. Hey,
Hi,
I'm in. Am I
wow,
in?
you
you're
were.
you're in. How you doing?
Honestly, I'm getting like a spiritual ass kicking. And I don't understand it.
Me too.
Yeah. Like honestly, I'm like this isn't gonna be a typical interview because I'm just like, tell me what I'm doing wrong, guys. I started this campaign and very much like for a long time, my journey was learning the Hermetic principles, universal law, momentum, trying to change the momentum that I was on, all these different things. Also, having it brought to my attention that I was like muscling everything, and that a lighter touch needed to be, given to these things. But then somewhere along the way, in like the last configuration of like this lesson, they're like, well, now you've broken past the matrix go with the flow threshold, and we actually want you to create a new energy building forward from like I'm like, so you want me to like approach this practically, like I've been doing my whole life? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So like I get like a practical plan in action. And for those who saw last time I showed up on the show, I told like a little bit about what I had gone through in the past like 6 months. And now like I'm finally into the execution of the practical thing that they told me to do. And like day one after I launched the campaign, I got sick. I was sick for a week and a half. I slept like half that time. I didn't watch any movies. I didn't watch any TV. I couldn't do nothing. And then I came out of it like energetically zapped, which makes it hardest for me to like communicate with people, whether it's texting, anything, just interacting with people. Like it's like I gotta be like in the right state of mind. So like I got into like this, and then my shoulder and my neck are like killing me like they never have before. The sickness was like I'd never had this sickness before. It was like I had a terrible fever, except I didn't have a fever. I wasn't horribly congested. I've had just like the tiniest little drip, like nasal drip or something. But I have been non-functioning since my campaign has happened. And I've been able to do like the podcasts and stuff that I set up to do, but like all of like the individual love to like reaching out to people and like promoting the thing, like I don't have the steam. And granted, at the same time, I don't like social media, and like they've told me that I'm not supposed to do things that I don't love, but I try to do them in ways that I might love them so that like I can compromise. But like I'm literally just sitting here going, and I do actually feel that on some level this is the message, because my ex-brother-in-law, who is similarly driven like me, he just said to me in like the day that I'm going through this, of like, I'm just like this close to just being done. I just don't care about any of the details anymore. Like I'm going, I'm step after step. And like, I guess what comes, like, because I'm like so tired of being like feeling like this is all outside of my control. And I guess I don't know. Is that what I'm doing wrong? I'm not grabbing onto it, like it's like I know what I'm supposed to do. So at least to 90% of the time, I think I'm doing it right energetically. But then on some level, I get to like these moments and they just feel like choking points where I just feel like, am I screwing it all up? So I'm emotionally exhausted right now because I feel like I'm somehow making myself sick. I don't appreciate that. Like, this is how the other side is dealing with me. It's like illness you've never had before, it's injury you've never had before, computer problems you've never had before. Just like I can't. It's very...
Well, whenever you're going into your purpose and you're stepping into your purpose, there's going to be the forces that come in that are going to try and stop you also. That's probably what's happening.
I know that's been going on for quite a while.
Just don't let it happen.
Oof. I mean, well, it's funny though, because at the same time though, that's the part of me that goes, well, I'm just gonna muscle it through. On some level, I know that that's not the answer. So, and it bothers me when I'm ready to do, and I can't figure out what I'm supposed to actually do. Because, in lieu of doing the wrong thing, it takes me into like a middling neutral where I'm like, all right, what is it that I'm supposed to see here? And I'm still not exactly sure what it is, but I'm not such a fool as to go, we've lessened your speed in 2 significant ways, and this is because we want you to muscle it, because it's so much more all encompassing, like, because I get taken down by bad thoughts here or there. It's hard to do that to me now, but a sickness that I can't get out from under, and then a injury that's one of my injuries, but it's just worse. It's just all very specific. So I mean, there's certainly, and I do agree, Arnie. I mean, like, the amount of negative forces out there are crazy, but I think it's a bit more of the matrix itself kind of pushing back on my energy a little bit. And I guess me just still being a little hot, running a little hotter than I should. And these little derailments are just, kind of quietly set me on fire. Just like, I'm such a perfectionist. It's hard, like, I really like set these things up to succeed and, for it to be easy. And then when it's not easy, I'm just like, I don't see any reason for this.
Never is.
I see no reason for this. How are you guys doing?
We both feel like we're tripping
Yeah, it feels a bit like that.
and being pulled.
Yeah, I'm having so many. It almost feels like being pulled into another dimension where you're just seeing like a certain cascading pattern, where you're like, wow, that's going off this specific plank. It's like, whoa, like, and it's really just like this, like a vortex of momentum. You're seeing energy, and you're just like, I know where that energy goes. I know where that energy goes. Like, that's like, and it's never seemed so slippery. Like, it's like people were like walking around a bloody room before, going like, this room's bloody. Now people are like sharpening axes, going, we need to add to this blood. Problem is, the blood's over there. It should be over there. Now, shit. You go, shoo. That's the slide. Bye. Bye, everybody who's going crazy. I do feel a little bit like it's the bye, everybody moment. My mother has been, calling this just the shift. Me and her are both big Dolores Cannon fans, and the shift, and they talk about it in all sorts of interesting ways. And I have definitely been shown it in that cell divide sort of way, where this energy's going over there and this energy's going over there, and there's a part of me that kind of goes, well, I think that energy is about to finally go over there, so to speak. It's interesting though, because I mean, really, the me personally, as like an observer of humanity, I've learned to observe the audience, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, because I write music and I write stories, so I'm always just kind of looking at, well, what is the audience? What does the audience make? What is an audience? Like what do people care about? There's a great book for fledgling writers out there, anybody who wants to understand psychology of storytelling a little bit better, called Wired for Story. And it's all about just how we're looking for somebody who has something that they want and they're working hard to get it. That's it. That's what a story is. Here's a person and they wanted this and this stood in their way and this is how they overcame it. The difference between a Mary Sue sort of reaction, where you're talking about a character that's been like given everything, and the antithesis is just hard work. Sigourney Weaver really earns her way in Aliens and has earned herself a position amongst the John McClanes of the universe, who are walking through glass to save the day, And a lot of times in like modern culture, when people try to be like inclusive and like get these people, they end up like guarding the protagonist from harm, whether it's because they're female or because they're a minority or what. But like really the answer is like you lean into that. In that most recent Captain America movie, there's a black Captain America. Where's the Red Skull? Black Captain America, get him out of here. Because those are real stakes. And that's something that he would really have to challenge. And he would, you go head first into something like that. It's not just like some silly bullshit. It's real racism and like really challenging those things and standing up to those adversity. That's great. When you pull that punch, and then instead you try to make your female a reverse mansplainer. She's going around mansplaining. Now we're taking that. Now it's my turn to mansplain. Or you make your black or ethnic lead a mouthpiece for politics in one way or another, lecturing people about liberalism or. Oh my goodness. Like these things, they just completely derail what storytelling is. And get into like a territory that is just sort of really strange for all of this stuff out here. It's all happened. The culture has been dividing in this weird way, but watching the audience over time, especially, I really think that the audience that is the noisiest and most actively with the violence on the TV anyway is a lot smaller than it really thinks it is. They've sort of made a bad guy out of a group that's not doing that much. And I know people want to talk about January whatever the hell it was, but actually there's plenty of information that you can go look at that thing. It was a freaking FBI operation. They had a crap load of people down there, for stupid people doing stupid things. If you don't think the exact same thing would have happened if the shoe was on the other foot, you're out of your mind. The temperature of the room has been that way, and it was encouraged at that time. So there's such this strange, and I'm seeing all these signs too now of the powers that be positioning their people into conservative roles. Like Taylor Swift just recently changed her. Oh, she's a conservative. This is the beginning of them going, oh, the establishment is Republican now. And now they'll say, oh, who will unite the Republican Party? Somebody united by globalist money, I betcha. Like it's just on and on it will go. And then they'll start doing things that everybody hates. And we'll be like, you people hate Jesus. And you say you like him. It's just this back and forth thing. But I honestly think that like 50% of everybody is done. Like we're just not even paying attention anymore. We've moved on. And then, there's like maybe I think 15% and 15% that are kind of, still poking the bear on either side. And, and maybe there's like a 20% or something like that of like this liberal, we need to just take the country back and destroy it so we can, I mean, like, who thinks that's a great idea? Let's let all of these highly controlled groups of people take over the country one way or another so that they can choose how it's. Are you nuts, man? Like none of them are going to give us what we want. It's not happening. It's like, not this way. I really do believe there's a way, but it's not the your guy sucks, my guy's right. Oh yeah, your guy sucks, my guy's right. We're gonna. It's a I love you. Maybe we could talk about this and figure this stuff out and move forward. Maybe.
Maybe. I feel that the less energy that we all give into it, the less power it has. And that's how we take our own control back also.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've been trying to decide how much power to put, not power to put in, but whether or not I should completely disconnect like from certain things. Because I'm recognizing that on some level, there's a certain amount of things that I don't want to be involved in. And simply by checking in on the situation, I'm involving myself. And I'm like, my feed on Facebook has become so much nicer since I got rid of all the people who were really partisan. Just the ones who just couldn't stop gotchaing all my other friends. And I just went zip, 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 and things will happen, and my girlfriend will be like, "Oh my God, I hate people," and I'll be like, "What's going on?" She's like, "On Facebook, everybody's saying this." I'm like, "Oh, none of my feed." It's like my people are good. I honestly believe that there is a factor to that. The getting us all on the same page, getting us to follow the same Facebook or same Instagram, like all this stuff, it ties us together in like really concrete ways, especially in association with all of these thought forms and paradigms of social media and all this stuff. But it doesn't really mean anything. And there's actually way less people involved in it than you imagine. But the big stroke of genius was to take all the people that you have who are in power and put them there. Put them there. They're operating there. The people who want to operate there with them have to play their same game. That's really like, when you go to an audition and they go, "What's your social media follow?" Like, so are you playing the game that we're playing? Are we all playing? Are you going to, because, the most people who are inflicted by some of these extreme ideologies, it's people who are playing that game and trying to be at the top of that game or at the the edge of the thing, the edgy ones who are setting people on fire like we used to. But of course, everybody who recognizes, I hated the people in high school who were going around telling people that they were going to hell. That was my fundamental problem with so much of like the conservatives. And now the people, like I'm getting a lot less of like the "you're going to hell" kind of thing, which is funny, and a lot more of the "a baby's life is a life." I'm like, I can't argue with that. When you were saying I was going to hell, I didn't appreciate it. But this, we could talk about this. There is some sort of middle line. And, it's also unfortunate because it's so calculated, everything that's going on. And like, that's the bit that, bothers me about the whole thing, because somebody might hear me talk and be like, "Oh, Jessie's saying inflammatory." No, I'm not at all. Like we're being made to fight with one another. That's the thing. It go back to ancient times, and you'll find the Roman leaders and saying, a divided populace, a distracted populace. That's what you want. That's how you get things done. And we are more distracted and more divided than ever. And we are kind of living in our own world. So I've been like thinking about that more and more, and like, what's the proper approach? And to a certain degree, I think it is to like continue to build your own world, and like literally like, unless there's somebody you're really trying to save, it's like just there's no room for those sorts of voices those, yay, my opponent died, like it's a little easier for us to win now. I don't have to answer your questions. Any question I might answer might make us look bad. Like, what the hell? This isn't a world of intellectuals. The world of intellectuals wants to have the hard conversations so that we can improve things and we can improve our arguments and we can figure out what really is necessary and what could we improve and how simply could we benefit the lives of a lot of people and blah blah blah. I really just think at this stage of the game the whole system is collapsing on itself like the exact way it should. I mean, kids who don't know how to afford their lives, to afford to live on the planet. And I mean, and neither do I. I don't take anything from my parents. And, it's just sort of like a badge of honor. I've always wanted to like give to my family and make more for my family. It's a bitch, like as soon as I had a divorce and all of a sudden I had to pay twice of it, like, oh my God, it's impossible to live out here. And the way that the government is run, it just like destroys people's lives and they die so quickly of fucking cancer or heart attacks or anything. Like, I mean, now I see this whole thing like truncated down to such a short period of time. And I'm like, fuck, man, if somebody like me doesn't survive, it's just going to be forgotten all over again. So like if all of us died tomorrow, it's like a big chunk of people who friggin' took the time to really deeply explore what the hell's going on here. Because it's a labyrinth. You can't see the end or the the entrance or the beginning from it, and you kind of got to learn to feel your way around this thing. And and even at this point in time, we're still having crises of faith and conscience. I'm like yesterday, I'm like, I haven't felt suicidal in like 6 months. And like, it's a feeling that had been going away. And I'm just like trapped in my body, unable to do the few things that I want to do. And all of a sudden, all the things that like, I've generally gotten over are just like, they're all making me mad. And I'm on fire. But I mean, this is the cycles that everybody goes through. And
Yeah.
and I don't know, I kind of feel like maybe those cycles have just gotten louder, like to view them with other people, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's almost easier to feel the wave of like, look what's going on right now. Because it's just so in your face and blatant. But I mean, like, oh my goodness. Is everybody having the experience where you just keep going, this is getting so obvious? like I understand that maybe I didn't recognize it for a while, and on some levels it was obvious, but holy shit, it's getting obvious. And I can't even understand certain people where they'll defend certain things that'll happen in a moment, and it's just like that never happened.
They lost the ability to go within and find themselves, to use their own judgment, to look at situations. I mean, it starts way back with school when we're small. It starts there and it goes through school. Then it goes through the job. It's the same thing. You got to do what the person up there is telling you. You can't think. You have to do it this way. And that's how they try to program us through life. Got to break that matrix, free thinking, and just with all of that.
It's gotten worse, like on that regard too. Like if you have kids right now, like I have 4, and if you try to do the math with them, I have such a hard time with it. Generally speaking, they'll get frustrated with me. I'm great at math, and they'll get frustrated at me and be like, "All right, like mom, need mom," and it's just because what they're being asked to do with the math is just sort of over-explain themselves to this nauseating degree. And oh boy, as soon as I saw, I'm like, wow, like, because I would have bucked at that so hard in school, because I don't like when I'm being, when the way I'm going to do something is being, I'm told how to do it. I would always like be taught something in math, and then I'd be like, can I do this instead? And they'd be like, oh sure, how'd you figure out how to do that? Well, I just thought, blah, 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 blah. Like I would always like to do percentages by timesing the thing that I had by 100 and then dividing it amongst what percentage you want. Like now there's 100 of them, and now I'll give you what percent. And that was really easy, but that's not how they teach you to do it. And in school now, basically the teacher would have sent me back to the desk and gone, no, you got to do it like this. And that, I think, is very stifling and really a terrible thing to be doing to our kids. It's crazy. You've seen the studies, right, about how kids start out, it's like 95% of them are geniuses, and then slowly the genius is destroyed over the course of their school career. I always wanted my kids to be homeschooled. It's one of my great regrets that they aren't, but my ex-wife kind of decided maybe nah. We have 4, so I mean it's a lot, but it's such a. I'm sorry, I'm on a live stream, guys. I love you. It's a disheartening situation to think how much of their youth and time is being spent in these institutions learning what. I mean, there's so many conversations about things that they should be learning, like how to do their taxes and stuff like that, that might actually be useful and functional for them. But I mean, like, what percentage of your schoolwork do you remember really well? Like, I mean, the there's things that I've picked up on afterwards, and explored afterwards, but there's just like so many things, just particularly like tests and whatnot. I'm an English major, and I'm like, come up with the adjectives and I'm like, I could probably remember some of the stuff if I try, but like, Jesus, like that's you don't need any of that. Like, it's like all of this, like turning it into it seems to me now, looking at it like detached, that it's the monkeys trying to pat themselves on the back for how clever they are. And really what we learn is a bunch of like what a bunch of pontificating old ghosts, have said in the past. And and it just, that's it, and the majority of them, the people that we listen to, are freaking Freemasons. And I think at this stage of the game, it has become a real thing that we need to open up every last bit that we can find about these Masons and what they were doing and what their plans were. They had so many people in so many positions. It seems like they were the marquee secret group at the time, and that they orchestrated the erasure of Tartaria, Lemuria, Atlantis, and a shitload of other religions and other things. And oh my God, like that stuff alone, like the wholeness of America was created by all these Masons, every single one of them. The idea that like they had not Masoned about this prior to any of these things is just the most ludicrous shit I've ever heard in my life, especially when it's not these Mason-filled boards that are approving these things and validating all these things and going, oh, yes, Rory, what he said. This system is so, I just reposted a thing on Facebook about, it was a quote from somebody who was like in the checks and balances in science, and they were talking about how it's impossible to get reality there because of like our scientific checks and balances. You guys, like, you don't understand. It's like people who like fight me on this stuff. It's like because it's like, Jessie's an intelligent person, and I'm going out there looking at things, and this is what I see. And it's like, you're a crazy person. And we're going, no. You see, I'm an intelligent person, but the people out in the world who are fighting over things, they're ego-driven, crazy people. They're not intelligent. They do what they have to do to get through the system, because that's how the system works. And when you look at it for more than a minute, like, I mean, go look at dinosaurs and like dinosaur bones, and like the way they just eliminated 300 dinosaurs, like off the chart, like zoom, all gone, because the whole system was being manipulated in all these weird little ways. And like, as soon as you start to look into it, you go, wait a second. Those 3 bones? Is this dinosaur? And then you go, what other skeletons have they seen? Well, here's another one in Argentina. It's this, a little bit of the skeleton, and then these 3 bones. You're like, is that a fucking discovery? Like you didn't discover a dinosaur. You discovered part of a skull and some other unnamed fugazi bones. Like, this is the basis of so much science. We have freaking Christians going into the ancient Egyptian tombs and looking at all of the hieroglyphics and determining everything in their own biased viewpoint. Like it's just all so biased and silly, and all these things need to be able to need to be looked at over again, with some people who are willing to recognize that bias exists and they might have some, and like, you know, try to go about these things in a little bit more of a neutral capacity. And instead of the usual, well, we need to give some sort of answer, yes or no. No, let's give a nuanced answer of yes, perhaps, sometimes, occasionally, we need to explore more. It's so easy to just be like, "Mwah, mwah, mwah." Like what's going on with RFK Jr. right now is killing me. Just the demon, like, and they want to make fun of his voice and they want to call him the thing. And these are this is the party of the fucking fat activists, you know, and you've got the autistic community, who I consider myself a part of. I'm very high functioning autistic. They are being weaponized against him because they are so simple and innocent that they believe the establishment. The only reason why I don't believe the establishment anymore is because I did a massive mushroom trip at 29 years old because Steve Jobs told me to, basically, in his book, and I recognized the rigidity in the way I was looking at things, and how trusting I was, and how there was plenty of evidence to suggest that maybe I shouldn't be so trusting. You know, I was just assuming everybody was like me. I'm pretty innocent, so why wouldn't other people be generally innocent? They're not. I'm sorry. Like, you know, this is the unfortunate thing. We're here on Earth. There's a shitload of us who have been sent here to help this place out, and it's not because they're all so awesome. As a group, they suck. They really blow. They follow each other like crazy because that's what the Matrix is supposed to be. This evolutionary, you know, pot, and it kind of flows with itself and it gets back into cohesion. But when you introduce some of the things that have been introduced into this matrix as a wedge to leave people in a certain looping fashion over certain lessons over and over and over again, you get what we have here, which is just like a malaise of people who are not going to get up and do anything to change the world, especially not because it's like never been harder. So it's never been more fucking suffering involved to like really change my mind about everything. And like, oh, God damn it. Has not been fun. This hasn't been fucking fun. The spiritual journey is a bitch. You know, having a good sense of humor about it, though, is one of the side effects. So, you know, that's the only
not only the spiritual journey, but like what you were talking about before. In the 90s, I saw a show like 3 a.m. It was a Millennium 2000. And it had Jordan Maxwell and a couple other people on there. And they were talking about like all the Masons and all the stuff with the world. And it opened my mind because at that point I was like totally backward thinking too. And I started going into libraries and I started looking back, old newspapers, old articles, old stuff. And I uncovered a lot of things. I discovered about the Masons, giants.
Oh, yeah.
You know, all the stuff the Smithsonian threw into the ocean, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. But I would never talk about it because I was afraid of being ridiculed.
It's crazy. This place is actually this magical nexus point. It's beautiful. It's really cool. You know, imagine you know, and whether it's fucking, I'm told it's a plane, but at the very least, I know we're living the Truman Show. We got a dome over this place. And, you know, and I don't talk about that a lot, but I've seen it. Many people have. Most people get terrified when they see this thing, and they'll go right back inside. But in different, you know, states of consciousness, working with plant medicine, I have sat and stared at the dome for 3 hours, and I've seen little lights, little UFO things interacting with it that are not just my imagination. I've observed them for hours to see that there was intelligence and that there were things going on. And I've seen the dome actually in multiple states. There's a state in which you can view it where you see faces, the faces of the ancestors. It's really beautiful. And you'll literally just like all these triangles, and these triangles represent essentially this portion of the face. The eyes at the corner of the triangle down to just like a here, you know, here's a mouth, here's the eyes, and you'll see it as a grid pattern. And every time you look into one of the triangles, you'll see it's a lion, you'll see a koala, you know, it's a kangaroo, all the human faces as a huge grid. Beautiful when I saw it like that. But the other times when I've seen it, it was like, it's Truman Show. It's a soundstage. I'm living under a fucking dome here. That is absolutely there. I'm absolutely seeing it. It is solid. I'm anchored, I'm moving around, it's staying exactly where it is, like it is a physical object. And many people will tell you that that thing exists. And when you go back into like the Vedas and biblical stuff, you start to get into so many other things. You're like, are these mountains, a lot of these mountains, are they knocked over trees? Are some of these mountains the titans of old? Or what is all of this phenomenon? Were we perhaps once living on a planet? Ooh, say something so it gets bigger on the screen.
This is nos confunding.
Yeah, see, there we go. That's where I'm at with it. It's something like this.
I feel the realm. It's a we're in a realm.
Yeah, we're in a realm.
And there's outside the realm.
Yeah.
Extra.
Yeah. And the idea that there used to be giant trees. How beautiful is that? Giant trees, giant beings, all sorts of beings of all different species and varieties, from dogmen and birdmen and dragons. And what an interesting place this is. How the fuck did we end up with this? where all of those things are just like whisper. No, those things don't exist anymore. I want to live in the place where all the things exist again. So like I'm full tilt onto that space, giant trees, giant beings, and and more land and more things to learn and discover. And I think a lot of people are just afraid, and I think that's a big part of it too. But I tell you what, the possibility that 50% of the people on the planet have no inner monologue, that's also was a bit of a disturbing one to me, because that really means that, well, I mean, if the energy magic of our thoughts don't do some things to just transform a lot of things, which I think they may, guide the unconscious of so many of these unconscious beings. But if not, we're going to have to do some work here, because there's not a lot of us who can actually think, and a lot of us who can actually think have already been bought off by the bad guys. So it's a really uphill battle we got going here.
Yeah, definitely. And like what you're saying with the firmament too, like I believe that's where the extraterrestrial is, outside of that, because that's the extra territory. They always
Are there any extraterrestrials? What exactly is an extraterrestrial? Like, planets seem to be real. It seems like you can go to Mars, you can go to these places, but they're existing different dimensionality. We're taking stargates. What are we doing here? How are they getting through the dome? What is the dome exactly? Is it a piece of high technology? Like these are all questions that I would like answered. What is the moon? I happen to think it's a machine, and that it's affecting us greatly. The question I have is, if we could turn it off tomorrow, would we want to do that? Or is it helping to, by putting people into these 13 categories and cycling their energy up, is that somehow helping them to better find the rail and raise their consciousness? I don't know. On some level, I know that we're supposed to out tango our, I'm a Virgo. I can't be a Virgo anymore. I'm not a Virgo. I'm more than what it means to be a Virgo. But at the same time, that's where I've come from, and but I do want to get away from it. I don't want to be stuck underneath it. And I wonder, what is the truth of so many of these things? The time before the moon, what was it like before the moon? Is the moon here because so many have fallen off of their paths that it's giving a path? There's talk about the moon's reflecting rays from Saturn. I don't like a lot of the shit that I hear about Saturn and whether Nibiru and some of these other concepts. So I don't know. For me, I just kind of keep absorbing information and trying to get to a better understanding each day of what it all means. But holy shit, it's just like there is a lot to know, and it is easier to just be blissfully ignorant than to try to. Look at how many fucking little subjects just got covered in 10 minutes. in passing. I mean, and this is real reality. Like these are things that we're really these are things that most people are dealing with more than they recognize, are more the problems facing them, vexing them, patterning them. And I mean, it's a very tricky moment.
The trickier moment is the fact that we once lived without a veil of forgetting.
Yeah.
And we got bored and complacent and we didn't do what we needed to do. So we said, fuck, we're going to write a whole paradigm about being veiled from what we really are. Because now that we know what we are, we're bored. Shit.
Well, and that is the terrible thing about this reality. It's like, I mean, it's the terrible thing about reality. And I mean, like, think about this, everybody. This is it. This is just a version of a thing that we can imagine. It's just a thing we're thinking of. We're thinking of it in cohesion. There's other people thinking of it with us. It's complicated, but this is just one of any number of things that we could imagine, and we could imagine better. We could imagine completely different. We could be fish in an infinite ocean. Really, the parameters of existence are quite diverse, and there's a lot of ways that we could think about this whole thing, and you just get down to things like consuming one another, and love, and just affection and desire. Like, does the alligator love the fish that he eats? I think he actually does. He goes, that looks good, the shark says, and he goes to take a bite. I think he genuinely loves that thing. I think he genuinely has no bitterness about it being separate or different from him. He's hungry and, ooh, that looks good. I love that. What is driving us at all time? Like, every perspective and perception that we have is a paradox. Love and pain and and hate, and who do you hate the most? You hate the people that you love. It's hard to hate people that you don't care about in any way, shape, or form. I don't care about that. It's generally what happens most of the time. If you say, oh, I hate that guy, well, then there's a reason, and you can meditate on love and hate and pain and pleasure. And I mean, they're literally hot and cold, like there's something called freezer burn. And then, then you get like the cold snap. These are cold burning you, and fire making you cold. It's like, well, how does that happen? Well, because they're tied into one another in a very intimate way. And it's really, if you guys could have seen, and I'm glad you can, the way in which I saw how our perceptions were just like stacked on top of one another, like they were coming from one another. Like, if you understand what I'm saying, like one was necessary for the other ones to exist, and then from those ones existing, now there was other ones that existed, but it was like all like without that, there's no that, there's no that, there's no, whoa, like, holy shit, that's a specific patterning of whatever. And like, this just is, like, we make excuses for why it's necessary or why it is, but ultimately it's all just an exploration. And there's nothing wrong with it. And the more we like it the way it is and stuff, great, like start appreciating it and enjoying it the way it is, because it's never going to be like this again, baby. Like this is going to be a flash in a pan, and we'll be on to something else that, ostensibly, certainly superficially, and so many of you are superficial, it's never going to look like this again. So if you care about how this looks, oh boy, enjoy. Energetically, perhaps a lot of these experiences are going to go on, but the look of all this, the idea that all these paradigms thing, I mean, it's so crazy. I keep thinking about how being a writer, like I almost had like a crisis of consciousness. Like I'm describing the thing, and like podcast talking about the thing, talking about describing the thing. Like everything is basically consciousness pointing back at itself, trying to describe what it is, trying to describe what it's experiencing, because that's That's everything, you know? So you're out there, do you live a life or do you describe a life? Do you go out and interact with the world, or do you play games that simulate feelings that you might have in the world? Feelings that experiences that you might have in reality? Or do you do it from the safety of a simulator? These are questions. Like, I'm sitting here talking about the thing. Is that a waste of my time? I'm sitting here pretending like I'm in the thing. A lot of these things, outside of like shooting people in Fortnite, I could perhaps be doing on my own and enjoying, living. So, and now we're on this precipice with like cybernetics and all these things. People are going to connect them. I'm not going to be, but because really what this is going to do is it's going to prevent you guys from being the psychics, the telepaths, the beings that are conduits, are lightning rods, are capable of fucking having Wi-Fi connected to your brain. You just have to trust. I mean, like, I know everything. And I mean, sometimes, I'll get in my own way, as people do who are intuitive. Like I can know something or think I know something that blocks me from getting the right answer about something, or I can have a predisposition to what I would like it to be. And but if I've hopefully gotten myself to a place of dispassion where I just would like the correct answer so that I can be Johnny on the spot, so that I could be the most helpful. The same way you might do a tarot card reading, just bring forth, whatever they need, da 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 da. I'm just the vessel for the thing. All of us can get to a place where somehow we just always have the information we need. And it seems like, well, really? Well, no, not really. Like, but yeah, really. And I've been surprised before how, oh yeah, I did know that, even though I didn't know that. And I mean, like famously, this is kind of a funny story. My ex-wife had yelled at me really hardcore because I told her that Little Colonel, which is the name of a movie starring Shirley Temple, must have been that the pronunciation of the word colonel must have changed over time due to Southern dialect, because colonel is too hard to say. So I'm sure it just got colonel. And she like cussed me out and said, nah. So I was doing like a podcast years later on relationships, and I talked about this, and multiple people called in to tell me that I was 100% correct. It's just type of weird things that'll happen to me occasionally, because I pull information from just an energetic understanding of things, as opposed to like getting textbook answers or whatever. And and those things can serve you just as well as being super book smart. I used to, just a little bit, I hung out with this guy. I kind of thought he was an idiot, but he was a very nice gentleman, and he was a tennis instructor, and he had done some similar damage to his shoulder that I had done. He offered to take me to his gym to kind of show me some of the exercises he was doing. So I said, okay. And I went with him, and what I witnessed was a complete idiot who was living his life 100% intuitively, and he was having the best of it. He just hey, just everywhere he went, he was just like having wonderful conversations. He genuinely was engaged with all the people. They really seemed to like him. He was a little minor celebrity in his own space, some handsome guy who had lots of friends going around talking to everybody, just blissfully stupid. And like, I've just always been like somebody like, I needed to be smart. And like, I spent just a little bit of time with him, and I went, being stupid doesn't seem so bad. Seems kind of nice. So I've been working on being stupider. It's just a dummy.
But it's funny, like when you were talking about, like knowing, a lot of the time that's getting another aspect of yourself being brought in and giving you that information also.
Yeah, well, I will always tell people, kind of like the best spiritual advice you can get, I think, is when something goes weird, don't ask, why, God? Always ask, why me? Why would I do this to myself? Because you can usually get to the answer from that, and from but the God is rather abstract. And why would God do this thing to me? I don't understand why he's even dealing with me. But why would I orchestrate it like this? Almost always. I've said that to friends before, and like as I'm saying it, they've just shouted out the answer to me because I'm a dick, like or whatever it might be. Of like, I know why I'm doing this because it's right there, which is wonderful. I wish I was still in the stage where I could like just do that and be like, oh, I see. I'm in the totally in the dark on the roller coaster mode. Called my mom, and my mom's just usually my parents would try to give like spiritual advice or whatever. I used to like talk to my dad today too, and she just kind of went, "You'll figure it out, Jess." Yeah. And then she texts me later. She's like, "I was on the phone with your sister, and she's having the exact same experience you're having right now." I just told her, "You guys are gonna figure it out." And it was basically what my dad told me too. But my dad, he shared with me there's this like spell that his dad taught him that he had to learn. It was like a spiritual thing for him to pass on this joke to the thing. It was all about learning this line and this play, and it's like this really long line. And he's trying to get it out, and he can't get the line out. And the very last thing he says is, "I don't want to be in this stupid play anyway." And I really think that that's like the crust of the spell. I didn't want to be in this stupid play anyway. Like this whole fucking dog and pony show we're living in, it's so dumb. And we can't be the only ones who are seeing that. And I really just believe like we just really need to, like the cat that ate the canary, just like start inventing new systems, because very shortly people are gonna be like, man, this sucks. Is there anything else? And and here we will be waiting for them. It's just like this is an inevitable. The spiral has never been stronger. The pull down the toilet chute has never been a stronger pull.
Well, one of the things that you were talking about the last time too, and that you're working on and want to work on, is hemp.
Mm-hmm.
Hemp is something that people really need to be more aware of because it could be used in so many different ways.
Yeah,
Product,
plastic.
clothing, yeah, everything. And it's not harmful to the environment either.
It grows very fast. Hemp is very good for the environment. It produces a lot of carbon dioxide, and it grows very fast. And it's like a weed. The big problem with it right now, it's only been, I don't know, maybe like a decade now that it's been legal in America because it was lumped in with all these other drugs, which was silly. Hemp doesn't have any psychoactive properties to it whatsoever, and it could do so much. But the growers, and by growers I mean the potential growers, and I've literally been dealing with like the liaison between the growers and manufacturers. The growers barely know what the capability of the product is because they haven't had a need to grow it much, and the companies don't really trust the capabilities of the stuff. So I have a partner that have like proprietary hemp mixtures kind of thing, that like they've figured out how to process it to really get the most out of it, because it was limited in a couple ways for a moment, but not really with these guys the way that they do it. I mean, there's still one limitation is going to be like clarity, for it to actually be clear. Really easy to do colors and all sorts of things, but clear plastic with that, like there are other ways that you can get clear plastics. But they're making bouncy balls, and I mean, like, I could make beach toys, and I could choose how long these beach toys will last for based on like these mixes of these things. At the very least, though, even if it's something that where we made it so that it's going to last a while and it ends up in the ocean and a turtle eats it, it's going to disintegrate in his stomach. Like it's all much better than what we have going on with the petroleum. So my plan actually for that, which is fun, I'll just share with you guys. We're making these hemp goblins, who are basically they're trying to sabotage the plastic industry to save the world, and and they each are like representing a different like part of the plant, and they just all have their own little personalities. And like, so our first campaign will be molded plastic versions of them, like little ones, I think probably like this big, but like in really nice boxes of their different things. And each campaign will do something a little better, and we'll add some paint, and we'll just keep upgrading them. But but we're gonna just do like generic toys, like, so it's gonna be bouncy balls and army men and like just things that you would that there are tons of factories across the world that'll make like standard toys in hemp plastic. And then we'll come back around again, and we'll do some beach toys. And like like, everything that I'm doing right now is kind of like a loop of doing more. This magazine's going to be a lot more solfeggio music and more hemp plastic toys. And really, I'm very happy with that. Like, it's like I feel very excited to do all those things, especially if it'll be mixed in with everything else that I do as is normally going on. But going to tour around conventions and meet people a little bit. I really want to start to grow a community, especially with like people who would hear me on your show and not think I was a crazy person. Like, everybody like us has to come together and let the other people, get there eventually. But until we start really, there was a few years there where I think we all thought we were crazy. So
You're right.
Just where we were all going, there's definitely something weird happening to me, but at the same time, maybe I'm just nuts. So I do think that like I think we've all kind of come out of that place. And I think part of that too is because like stage 2 is taking place, where the D. Sniders of the world have had their first, mushroom trip. My father just went into ceremony for his heart. He came out of ceremony and he apologized to me multiple times, once in tears. It was interesting because these are apologies that like a long time ago would have really, not that I shouldn't say would have meant a lot, because they mean just as much to me now, but like would have, I feel like would have stirred a lot more in me. But at the same, I was just thrilled. Like I was just thrilled. This is great, but like it wasn't like oh Dad, thanks so much, because I had to go through the stage where I got over all that shit. So, but seeing that happen, seeing the D's of the world whose heart's bad and he needs some new options and he needs to look at things, and I'm going, well, how many other people are going to turn to some ayahuasca or something that maybe they didn't turn to yesterday or whatever it is to get a better result? Like I have friends who have cancer right now, and they're doing the freaking ring the bell and go do chemotherapy and all this stuff. And I've been trying to talk them off the ledge and get them into other scenarios, because there's a lot of information available on like what these things really are. In the case of the cancer, if anybody out there ends up dealing with this, ivermectin and benzazole, which are like parasite cleanses.
Yes.
They seem to be the cancer thing. It seems to be pretty absolute that it's parasites, and we are apparently terrible in America at like looking for these parasite things, and we're letting these parasites become these cancers, and we're killing ourselves with this chemotherapy, expensive chemotherapy. There have been other means of taking care of this stuff for a long time, like vitamin C drips and other things that you could find. But I think the ivermectin and the perbenzazole is like real, like the silver bullet, because it seems that what we're fighting is just parasites. This information is never going to come out in the mainstream. It's like there's no money in paying for this information to be said somewhere.
And also, what about the people like the Rife machine in like the 30s? When he would set up people going into his frequency device.
Oh yeah, there's so many.
And they wiped him out, because it's controlled.
There was a guy, and I mean, and it's funny too, because like, theoretically speaking, this would have eaten into the thing that I'm doing. But he was a guy, and he figured out how to take the plastic. It was a young kid, figured out how to take the plastic and turn it into gasoline. And when I heard it, I posted it and I said, "Fucking take care of this guy and monitor this guy. Make sure that he stays alive." Because one of my favorite subjects is suppressed technology on planet Earth. There's so much fucking suppressed technology here, and oh my God, I've seen lesser inventions, freaking, to get somebody killed, and now apparently that kid's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 6 months. 6 months from when I heard about him to when I heard he's missing. You know?
Spirit just dropped me something for you. 3D printing hemp material.
Yeah, that's part of the thing that we're looking at. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do all this stuff. The hemp, the 3D printed things that you make yourself, it has a bit of a like what's the word? Tacky kind of like feeling to it. It's a little textured. And then you got to like go in and like sand it down and stuff like that to get around that. I'm sure the technology is going to improve shortly, and that won't be the case for very much longer. But we have been looking at a lot of those things. My good friend Digger Mesh, he used to own a company called Art Asylum. Digger's a shit because he would credit the sculptors, and that was just like unheard of in all the toy business. So he made lots of like the Kiss Love Gun action figures, the full size ones, and like the Alice Cooper Jack in the Box and all that stuff. That was his company, Artisan. So he rules, and he's working on something right now, which are baby Buddhas. Yeah, they're really adorable. So his campaign's coming next after mine's done. And we've been talking about like a lot of these different things. I mean, when we go to do our initial campaign, it's going to be all molded, plastic for the most part. I might consider doing the other guys 3D printed for our campaign. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to like look at a couple different things, but I think definitely that's one of the things that I want to offer with the campaign with every campaign is hemp plastic rolls in different colors, so that anybody who's doing any 3D printing anywhere, just let us know how much you want, kind of thing, and we'll produce.
That's game changing for so many people that want to do organic. Like I work in epoxy, that's not healthy whatsoever.
Yeah.
But that's like down the line. But at the same time, there are artists out there that just like tattoo artists are using vegan tattooing.
Yeah.
People want to use more organic, structured materials to make their artwork and be creative. And that's huge.
Yeah, there are some out there that you can get as of right now. Like I'm curious like how competitive our price is going to be to some of the people that already offer it. But I feel like it's one of those things that is just so easy to get bought in bulk, and most people don't even think about that. Some simple things like that are going to be, no-brainers. I mean, I really want to just kind of keep coming back to it and just open up the field more and more and more, and just we'll do a little area over here. Let's do this. Let's give party favors. Until kind of expand a store as well. Because if we have things that sell in really good, numbers, we can just like leave that open and stuff and just kind of explore how to do it that way. But, I've got Digger kind of at the baseline of the ship. So, if things start going right, we can really start to do a lot of fun things with it. So, but yeah, that's gonna be really cool. I'm so tired of waiting.
I'm with you. I know Arnie is too.
We're all in the same boat.
It's time for something to happen. I guess me.
Well, it's really up to all of us to make it happen.
Yeah, well, we all got to do something. We all got to just like start putting, and we all have to support. I mean, like seriously, please, for me, guys, like you don't have no idea what it would mean if the people who are watching this right now go support the Solfeggio campaign. I have been. I think maybe it is to see other people help me. I had my dad call me today, and my mom. Everybody was like, caring about me or whatnot. Just like timing of things like going, and that would be amazing if this thing could get pulled out like without me having to be as involved in as I wanted to be, as I normally would be for just doing a campaign. But like, on some level they're wanting me to observe and slow down and look, and perhaps it is to to really streamline my voice and like what I'm saying about all this stuff. But like, I want place needs to change. I've been here for 43 years, and for 43 years, it's been lesser than it could be. And I see very little being done to combat what is going on. And there are things, low-hanging fruit, musical frequency, hemp plastic. There's plenty more. You know, just like find one that feels right for you and go and do it. You know, fill that hole, you know, be that thing. You know, my magazine is coming because like I want people to know that there's a difference between diversity, equity, inclusion, and art. You know, like art is always diversity, equity, inclusion. Like this is just like stupidity. Like there's like let's talk about art again and make stories that are worth sharing and ideas worth thinking about and not be lost in the pettiness of the back and forth righteous man, you know, going, oh God, like aren't we all just like, ugh, they all make us throw up. You all make us throw up. Ugh, you're all so self-righteous. Oh, I can't tell. Oh, Trump is the worst. Oh, Biden's the worst. You all suck. Shut up. Just, oh God.
I grew up in that art world paradigm. I went to art school.
Oh, do you like the movie Art School? What's it called? My Digger loves that movie. He's like, it's just like this, Jesse. Because I never went to art. I was gonna actually go to art school. I was studying to be a comic book artist for a minute, and then I switched kind of my junior or senior year to writing.
I went to SVA and
My brother went there too.
it was a game changer. As much as we hate colleges, and that is a very liberal, but it wasn't really liberal when I went. It asks you to actually think for yourself and deconstruct things objectively without bashing another person's paradigm and what they're doing. Because there are people out there in the art world who fake it and fake it really well and just can't produce, and they copy people's shit instead of just being originally creating.
That's the thing I hate about the RFK Jr. thing. It's like there's finally a conversation being had on some level about some of these health issues that people like me have been going, whoa, like we got to figure out something here. This is crazy, this autism level, whatever. And instead of fighting his arguments, they're like, he looks like the thing. He talks like a living ashtray. I'm like, yeah, but what he's talking about, like why are you doing the thing that I was told we're not supposed to do anymore? Because he's a crackpot. Oh shit! Like they're like just shorthand words. This man, RFK Jr., he has a podcast where he's interviewed hundreds of some of the brightest people in science and academia. Like on the, a lot of them are now considered on the fringe because their science has moved into fringe topics. But he's somebody who is well educated and established in this space and has been talking to leading experts in the field about some of the things going on with our health and with our food. And to not listen to a person like that is just so foolish.
It is crazy. I work in a school and I work with the autistic children. You should see what some of these kids are eating. And I'm like, watch, in 20 minutes, you're going to see this kid go off the hook because of the sugar and the chemicals in the food. These kids have no, and it's not the kid's fault. They're very picky eaters, and I understand that. That's an autistic trait. Some of them are nonverbal, but if you just cleaned up their diet, I could tell you now the kids that eat healthier they're leaps and bounding, and they're only 3 years old that I'm in a room with them having to sit there and knead them and rock them and pick them up and
Do you know how
because
many
they can't
would be?
ground.
Yes, you know how many of them would be doing great too if the first thing that you did in the day was walk them outside, take off their shoes, and have them sit on the ground for a few minutes.
Yes. I tell all these parents all the time, please take these kids to the park, take their shoes off.
I have friends, you know, who have I forget what it's called, like when your legs going up your legs and you know, like pain, really bad pain in the legs. There's a name for it or whatever. I recommended one of my friends. I was like, I know this is gonna sound crazy. It's a little thing, but I think it'll really improve things for you. So just start going outside every day, put your feet on the ground. Because I asked her, I said, you put your feet on the ground very much? And she said, no. And I said, well, I said, it's a really big deal. And I said, I think it would help huge. And she said, change her life. You know,
Grounding mats.
yes, grounding mats. My brother got me one.
Got one right now.
Yeah.
I lay on one, I sleep on one. And
Yeah,
I plethora of grand outside, but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know, to be sitting there fighting your own, you know, like this idea that autism is like a lifestyle. Like, no, there's an autism spectrum because it's affecting all of us differently.
Yes.
And I know as a high functioning autistic person that most of the autistic people that I know can't do what I can do. And it's because I'm a little bit higher functioning, and I would love to see my abilities handed to these people. It'd be wonderful to have more people like me in the world. You know, essentially, I'm an
Yeah.
autistic kid who can just get a lot of things done, and you know, and they could too with just a little bit of help here or there, depending on what their mental load is, and so many different things. But I mean, it's been decades actually, independently of mothers getting their children into better places. But meanwhile, my godmother, I have two autistic. This is part of the reason why I cared so much about the subject in the first place. I have two autistic cousins, and when I tried to pass on the information to her and my godfather years ago, they just ignored it completely. And you know, my mom's tried to pass on some information to them as well. You know, we love them very much. We want to see them do well, and you know, but some people just they're not ready for the information, or they just like it's crazy how you know some of them will just you know somebody that you know really well and like they you know they know that you got a reasonable head on your shoulders and you go, hey, I really think you should know this, and this is you know it's weird. There's like a hypnotism to the system like as it lays, and like you know the system didn't say that was good. You know, I feel better when the system says that this is good, and I get that. You know, I was a system guy for many years, you know, but the unfortunate reality is the you know the inmates are running the asylum. The people that you think um, would the people that you know exist that would do a good job running things, they don't want to run things, and the people who are running things are all the ones who shouldn't be doing it. And I mean, like that's like the big thing that I like learned reluctantly over the years, you know, just because I would just love to have like a nice fat paycheck for Marvel and DC and write comic books for them and bring a really even fatter paycheck from Pizza Hut or Kia Motors and do voiceovers for them and just always have somewhere to show up and have other people promoting me and have them saying nice things about me. I'm not fucking show up anywhere, do anything. I just have an apparatus that does it all for me. That would be wonderful. I'd love that. But I can't do that because if I do that, then it would mean that I've sold out to the system and I'm doing exactly the same things that they're doing. And I don't want to do that. So, well, who do I have to nominate to make all these things happen for me another way? Me, you know, and it's time to nominate ourselves to get the things done that we need to get done. You know, even if it's something small, seems small or whatever. Just, you know, if you got a bug up your butt about it, if it's something that means something to you, just do it. Don't wait any longer before this place explodes.
It already has.
Yeah, for all
We
intents.
just chose life this time, and we chose to do it together.
Well, that's what I've been told actually, is that you know that moment in is it Infinity War where Doctor Strange says, I just saw 6 billion possibilities, but there was just one where we did it. Um, I'm told this is the one that
Yes.
we couldn't get it together. I'm told that people like you and me and like our lives are worse because we agreed that basically the only way to get it to work out was to make our lives worse so that the lessons stuck with us harder for
Yep.
longer and that we could bring about this jubilee on earth. And you know I do believe it. Of course at the same time I'm like I've just gotten to this point where like I don't believe that I'm going to be prepared for however the hell it's going to roll out. And why bother trying to figure something like that out when I could just be pleasantly surprised? Ah, it's fixed.
That's how it's going to actually turn out.
Oh, yeah.
One day it's just going to be like that anyway.
Yeah, we're
But
going
what,
to be like, hey, is it fixed? It feels kind of fixed. You know, I think for people like us, it is fixed. It's already fixed. You know, it's been fixed since we were on this path. This path is protecting us from harm. Will there be a civil war? I mean, they're probably going to try to make us think there's one on some level. You know, will we be involved in it? No. You know, are we going to be there? No. Is it going to affect us? No. Is it going to affect people we know? Sure. Is it going to affect us? No. Like, you know, we're already on to the next thing. You know, we've already like started going through the fun house to get to the other side. And like, there's really no catching up to us because they're playing a different game. And there are things that might happen, slow us down or whatever. It's not like everything's just easy, easy, easy. But ultimately, I really do believe we're just like dividing from so many of those things. So I keep thinking like, is it just going to be this thing where I wake up one day and most of the musicians who are famous are dead? So now, like by comparison, I'm huge. Because I'm alive. Those people are all dead. But here's Jessie. It's like, I mean, that's not ever how I wanted to succeed.
Well, one thing I got to say though, like with the Kickstarter,
Yes.
why that Kickstarter is so important is what you did with those frequencies.
Oh.
And what people don't realize too is like when they do that Kickstarter and they're going to actually receive the music, the CD,
yeah.
that CD is the frequency. Whereas when you go onto YouTube, when you go onto other platforms, their algorithms generally will mess with that and change those frequencies. So that's why it is so important even to have like the physical.
You're righter than you know too, because like the thing that the AI is so good at is it's a mimic. You know, that's really the big thing. And within its mimicry, it's learned wonderful arranging from all the different people who have arranged before. It's actually learned better arranging than is generally done. The arrangements that will come out of the AI for novices are great. I'm a really good arranger though as well. So it's very intuitive, you know, it leans into, you know, into these things. But the foundational everything about this stuff, you know, like so many of these songs are channeled, you know, these were just from the universe to me, you know, just feeling these things out. And the AI is very good at hearing what you're doing and averaging, you know, it. So the what I put into it to some degree, it's like there were 5 me's. The person playing guitar is me, and he's giving the type of energy and the type of presence to the instrument that I put into mine. And so is the bass, and so is the drum, and so are the harmonies. They're all my energy. So on some level, I've never been able to get such a pure channel of music through, because it's just me giving it my all, and then, you know, prismed out is this, you know, is this love and affection that I'm putting in the song. So on some level, it's there's an even better next level where I'm able to do this with musicians that I love and I'm connected with. But it hasn't exactly happened yet all the time, the level of, you know, just when those things click, that I can get such a pure message from the song. I mean, when you listen to TIME, I mean, it's just they nailed it. It's like a fucking acapella track, but it's just all about power and about, like, you know, gaining in power, and it has that, the energy of that power and the stiltedness of the building. It's the last track on the record. It's just really, yeah, it really has been the most spiritual process for me, you know, like making these things. And it detaches me from the songs in just a little bit. And I like that, because, you know, I write so many different things. It's like when it's me, it's so easy for me to just like get in my head about it. I love that it's just sort of distilling me, and it's becoming something a little greater. So yeah, no, thank you for appreciating that too. It really is some next level depth that's coming across, because of also just knowing what I'm doing, you know, knowing that, like, okay, well, this is going to be done in this, you know, frequency, and then that'll amplify this, and, like, you know, really trying to get the energy of all of it, like, in cahoots. It's a process.
But at the end of the day, it's a good process.
Oh
And
yeah, no, it really is. I'm so excited. I've got a lot to do.
people listen to this and actually hear it. They're not just hearing it, they're feeling it.
Yeah.
And that's so important.
Did I share? I think I might have tried to share it with Allie. Did I share with you the conspiracy theorist song?
I love that.
I think that's
I
my
freaking love that.
my bonus track for the for the record. Theoretically, if we hit 10,000, I think that'll be the that's gonna be. I wrote that years ago. I've been waiting. There was some songs that I was like I didn't want to like waste it on the AI, but there's just a ton of them that I want to write them. Like I just want to get them out. Like they're all done. So like it's just like I just want to fucking get something made, and I'm having too much fun doing it. So whatever. I'm just gonna keep doing it. There are definitely a little bit some people who don't love AI and they're getting a little upset with me, but I really don't care. So
You have a question out there. Do you have any visual components that go with your audio?
For this album, I haven't I haven't made anything. Other than if you go onto my social media, there's a track that one of our people made. It's a collection of me and my girlfriend Julie. Or the song that I wrote for her called "If I Had
Tim,
One Wish."
Tim posted, right?
Yeah, Tim posted it. Yeah, so that's out there, and and there's some more that that we'd like to make, but I was planning on actually doing some earlier in the campaign, but like I said, I've been sick, and so I haven't been able to really do much of anything. But there was some things that we were going to do, so maybe I'll do it in the next week as we try to bring the campaign into a close.
I think the visuals would be awesome. I know a lot of people that do take our Timothy Leary and our shroom trips would love to listen to that stuff and just get lost in visuals.
Oh yeah, there's a couple that we were thinking about. So I mean, maybe I'll reopen that this week. The opening song on the record is a plant medicine sermon. It's kind of walking you into another state of consciousness. And I was thinking about doing something like that with that one, just something based around the fire and just really driving the point of it all home.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really cool. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the record, the record, it's lovely. It's really, there's a lot of different genres, even though it's kind of all within a same wheelhouse, kind of pop, soul, punk, but it's just poppy rock music. It's something you can put on for your grandma though. Nothing that's like going to be so abrasive that anybody's going to be like, what? Things that everybody can enjoy. And there's so much spiritual medicine in these songs and lyrics, and I mean, just really, it's true. I appreciate Arnie saying that, because I have felt so guilty over the past 10 years because of the wealth of things that have been coming out of me and my inability to like get it done faster and like share it. Because so many of these things, I mean, even something small like, everything is perfect and in its place, just where I left it there yesterday. Everything I want's within my grasp. If I need something, it's in my hand fast. They will send me these things that are just like daily mantras and like lift me up, like just like, and I'll be singing them to myself for years, going like, I can't believe that I haven't recorded this yet. I can't believe that like I haven't been able to share this with anybody. Like so many of these messages are important. Even like in the middle of the one song, was it all I want is so tired of being tired, fed up by what we've been fed, brokenhearted, uninspired, done going where I've been led. And I've been singing that for like a decade and a half. Like I wrote that just ages ago when I was feeling it, and I've been feeling it, just so tired of being tired, fed up by what I've been fed. It's just really, these things, whenever they've come out of me, it's just been in like that perfect harmonics. It's so tired of being tired. What's wrong? I'm tired, time. It's this great, you hear that area where that's sung, you know, like these songs, and like the way they hit you, it comes from how you're singing it, where are you singing it. There's energy to all of these things that'll really bring you there more fully. And you know, and these songs have been written like that, and then on top of the fact they've been tuned to frequency like that as well. So it definitely is like another level, and I'm looking forward to getting feedback from people, because you know, my biggest wish is that I'm just gonna like trick some people into some outer body experiences, and they're gonna be like, and then I was above my car. I'm like, yes. And then what happened? And then I got abducted by aliens. Oh, sorry. Whoops.
I like the other thing you mentioned too a while back, with possibly doing like a full set in like each frequency, because that'd
Yeah.
be great for meditation.
The next album I'm going to do all in one frequency. I haven't decided which one yet. But I'm going to open it with a 432, close with a 432, and then all in one of the frequencies. And I'm going to do 9 of them or 8 of them. And there's one frequency I might skip. But I'm going to do 8 different records, all in the main solfeggio frequencies. And I'll probably do a 432 one somewhere there. And then I'm thinking I might try to do 111, 222, 333. We'll see how it's going when I get there, if I feel like doing it. But I know I've got more than enough material, and like just so much like wonderful spiritual stuff. The next album, I want it to be really empowering. I have a lot of like, you know, take the power back kind of things, like really pump you up kind of songs that are really spiritual. And I want to put them all on one record as like something just really like blow a hole through people's buttholes. I gotta go. So that's the one that I want to start with, and you know, and I'll probably maybe do like a love one, second 428. I mean, I have 528, and yeah. So I'm just gonna like kind of go down the path like that. I have some material that I've already made that'll end up on some of these records, and then but there's a ton of things that like there's a couple of things that I wrote recently that I'm like, oh, that's going on the record. That's going on the record. I've been like lately I've been in a real I don't know, another big songwriting frenzy. So I've like, you know, written like 100 in the past 6 months that are like, some of them are really mind blowing. It's crazy though. It's honestly, it's to a certain degree, it's like, who like what? Spread it around. God, give them to other people. How am I supposed to even make this many? There's so many. There's so many, like so good, so many, so good. And like, I go through it the other day because I'm doing for my buddy. He's doing the Baby Buddhas, and I'm trying to find like some songs to make a jingle for him for his thing, which I think we're talking about. It's you, what is it? It's oh shit, it'll come to me in a second. But it's a perfect little baby Buddha song. I'm forgetting the title of it, but you know, when I'll go through my ideas, I'll run into these things, and I'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about that. At the time that I wrote that, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever written, and it's like happened so many times that now like I'll go back and I'll be like, this is like, I'm like embarrassed. I still haven't recorded that one. This is 8 years ago now. Like shit, I gotta fucking do this. So like, fuck it, man. I'm leaning into the AI demos and the sound healing things because it's super fun. And then I'm just gonna pick like all my favorite ones when I'm all done doing these things, and go into the studio and make them for real.
Cool.
Has your dad listened to your stuff?
Yeah, you know, my dad and my mom is my biggest fan of all time. You know, my dad is you know, is a fan. I think my father's felt a little limited by, well, in the same way that he is limiting himself. You know, he feels like I don't know what's in, you know, what's in, you know, like, and I haven't exactly been in the perfect like place to tell him, yo, what's in is being sculpted by these labels, and like anybody could totally do that too. It just has, you just have to present things well, you know. But like all these tastes are being chosen by these powerful tastemaker. So my dad's felt a little bit like personally for himself as an artist, a little bit like, oh, I don't know how to play anymore, kind of thing. So to a certain degree, my dad listens to my stuff and he goes, it's great, Jess. I don't know what to tell you though. Like, I don't know where to send you. I don't know what's in. I don't know, I'm not sure what to do with this, has kind of been his feeling for a while, which I understand. He went to go do some records recently and he didn't do his own thing. He did what Jamie Josta thought would work. And Jamie Josta, put these things together. He worked on with them. The first one was a very good record. The second one I don't like as much, but Jamie did a nice job trying to, and that was the difference for my dad. Jamie says he knows what to do. I'll do it, So, so because I'd always taken like a slight offense of it, maybe of my dad not necessarily knowing what to do with me. But I kind of have worked with him in a couple different capacities. And I see just like, he's really just sort of reacting to my stuff the same way he's reacting to his own stuff. Like, yeah, even when I have something good, I'm not really sure what to do with it because it's not quite so cut and dry. And it's not. This getting eyes on yourself nowadays is so hard. I went on to a podcast the other day. It was the first conversation that came on before we got on the show. It was just, we were just talking about how difficult it is, and these numbers and these algorithms. And I mean, they're trying to squeeze us out until it's just bots and just people who are willing to pump money into the system. And that's the thing. It's like, if you're willing to put money into the system, well, then you're playing their game and then they're happy to let you through. But otherwise, it's just a lot of winners being chosen by the system, and it's very not fair. And certainly it's such an illusion because people think like the good things rise to the top and stuff. But I'm telling you, like you find somebody good at whatever it is, like please champion them, champion the good people. They need our help. It's so. I had more shares for this campaign than like anything I've ever done, like the opening salvo of like shares and stuff for like this campaign. And then I like followed all of the shares and they went nowhere. Like a good share was 2, maybe 3 likes, or one or two of like 70 had a comment. And I was like, oh, wow, we got a comment, woohoo. It's crazy. So it's like people are like, yes, I'm doing my good deed. And it goes nowhere. It's just it's an empty gesture. And then like I go, oh, look, I got this many shares, blah, 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 blah. This is going to turn into whatever. And then I'm like, it didn't go anywhere. Nobody saw any of these things that they shared. So like now it really like becomes such a silly thing because like I knew this was true to some degree, that like the emphasis being placed on all these things was really trumped up and there wasn't really as much to be gained as you thought from putting yourself on social media and all this shit. It's only if you're willing to play the game the way they want you to play it. And if you don't play it like that, like it does not respond to you. And, and the system is working this way because it's looking to homogenize what's within the system. And by only supporting the people who support them the way that they want, well, like there it is. The system stays exactly as it's meant to stay. So,
Well,
I think we all really have to start thinking outside of the box a little bit, and like seriously trying to get outside this fucking ridiculousness.
well, that's the algorithm too that does that.
Oh yeah.
For them. That's part of the problem. But the shares, you keep sharing it because the more you keep sharing, the more you beat that algorithm.
Yeah, but like at the same time, it's like, what the fuck is like my life is supposed to be dedicated to beating an algorithm that shouldn't even be made like that in the first place?
But that's
like this is what like we're supposed to dedicate ourselves to, trying to figure out how to observe the machine, the infinitely calculating AI controlled machine. I mean, like, Jesus, like we'll sooner die. Who wants to do any of this shit? Like I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I definitely don't think it's more of the same or more of what I've been doing. I think it moves into some place that's like I just can't see yet, and I'm hoping that I'm going to see it soon because definitely feeling a little bit like I'm like, left me here, God, you prick.
It's true though, but you got to look at it this way. More people are becoming more aware. They're getting out and off the train tracks of okay, this or that, victimizer mentality, and they're coming into a neutral space of going, oh, shit, wait, we have to move up. How are we going to do that? And we're now starting to see progress in the spiritual side where more people are going, oh, I have to expand my thinking. Shit, how do I go about that? Oh, crap. And then this whole new world opens up to them, and that's where we're all coming into play.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely like the Wild West or whatever. Because it's funny. I feel like the dam has burst already, but it's like a little bit more like our fever broke kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of just like standing like, where am I going to start biting at this thing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we're like evaluating it, going, all right, I'll take an eye. You get the other eye, Arnie. But at the same time, I do think that like it isn't the fighting. It's not, the answer isn't fighting the system. It's in countering it. Making another system, making people go, what happened to all the people who used to be in this system? Where did they all disappear to? Oh, there's a new system. It's called the Laugh Factory, and they're only nice there. I don't know what it is, and I do kind of think it's more. I think it's local community, and then I think it's national communities and international communities, of similar interests, and people kind of coming together in a more pronounced way. But we need to change this whole apparatus and not. It's not this person's right or that. Who was right? Oh, it was the Mormons. The Mormons were right. It's not that. It's not one of us is right. It's the group who is willing to go, hey, look, there's a lot of different ideas about all of this. We want to try to bring this thing in for a landing. I know there's things that we can agree on. Let's see what we can start checking off the list. Let's clean the air. Anybody object to that? Okay, we'll clean the air. Okay, we're going to clean the oceans. Anybody object to that? Okay, let's clean the oceans. All right, let's maybe change this plastic. Maybe we can go with hemp or something like that. Anybody object to that? There's so many things that nobody would object to. And we are just dancing around the same fucking dozen issues that have fucking hung us up in the past. And the idea that the conversation just so happens to never move anywhere that's universal. I mean, just like, God damn it, guys. Like, if that doesn't paint the picture of what we're really dealing with here, there are unifying subjects. That seems like a ludicrous idea because none of them are bandied about. When I was a kid, it was pollution. Now it's global warming. And if you're paying attention, that's not being done because of the global warming is so much more important than baseline pollution. It's because baseline pollution was too hard to control and direct. If we're talking about emissions and these things, well, that's some very specific things that we can say. And if we know what the laws are, we know what the workarounds are. And if we helped invent the laws, then we can implement the laws in a way that make us comfortable, make us happy, and it doesn't put us out of business. So, you just have the conversations just keep changing on us. And, and sweet people will just continue to go virtuously from one great battle to another. Okay, here's another battle that needs to be fought. But they don't realize that is it. That's the game. The game is just one battle after another, which is funny. That friggin' movie that just came out, which was what a weirdo movie. I don't know. Me and my son only got through the first half an hour of it, but it's essentially like glorifying Antifa in like a really positive way. And then the main characters who are Antifa members, one of them is a white guy who's only a member of Antifa for the black women. And then a black woman who is clearly an adventure seeker who is doing that in every area of her life, not altruistically going and freeing people, whatever. And I'm like, from the segment of the audience that these are their issues, the heroes of their community are douchebags. And I don't even understand how you create something like this of a depiction of the good guys, and these are your heroes. Like, I don't even get it. Do the ones at the tippy top get that a lot of what is happening is like irregular, evil, mischievous? Like, they're seeming to be admitting it in the movie. I don't understand it at all. You would think they would have like glorified Leonardo DiCaprio's character and like, I don't know, made the lady less gross and less of a despicable human being. She was jealous of her baby because the husband was a good father. She becomes a criminal early into the movie, and then she rats on all of her freedom fighter friends to get a reduced sentence. This is the hero. I don't even understand. I don't think they even know what they're supposed to do with the pieces that they've been given as the narrative to our universe right now. like this guy seems to be revealing exactly what I know about Antifa members. And some of these people who are leading these charges. And honestly, I really don't. I think Antifa and all these things. It's people who are getting paid.
Yeah.
We for years the CIA and other organizations have had mind control programs, and I know it's a terrible. Like, it seems like such a terrible thing to say that the government is driving people crazy and making them do school shootings and stuff like that. But at the same time, think about this. Isn't it a worse thing to think that people are just wild and crazy and they literally will just one day snap and go shoot up a school? And that wasn't anything that ever used to happen yesterday, but flash forward, 10 years after the fucking CIA in the 60s start getting their shit crack-a-lacking, all of a sudden we're living in a world with all of these lunatics running around. And then so often when we find one of these lunatics like Manson or whoever else, we find out that they have fucking connections to the CIA and these groups. So it's for me, I prefer living in the world where I think that generally speaking, if anybody does anything crazy, if they've been driven mad. And I think there's plenty of evidence for that, and plenty. One of the songs on the record is called "Heaven All 24/7," and it's about school shootings. The chorus is, "Hold the phone, something's coming. Did you hear that? Maybe better get running. Set to explode, and baby, he's gunning. You better take cover, honey. He ain't funning." And and it's a song about that we generally are told to like go out into the world and live our lives and be adventurous, and yet we're living in this world where like our schools are getting shot up. Thank you. Sorry, my baby has a message for me. I'll meet you guys.
Adorable.
Thank you. It's one of my 4.
Adorable.
Thank you guys so much for putting this together and have. I literally, I was like at a certain point, I'm like I really liked my first interview. I want to go do that one again. And I was like, that's before I got sick, and so maybe I could start again with Arnie and Ally. I appreciate it.
That's the reason why you do everything you do too.
What?
Kids.
Yep.
And that's like the same thing with me. My daughter, thank God she's with it, but we want a better world for our kids.
I swore that I was not going to have kids until I made it a better world. But I met their mom in high school, and she wanted the kids now. And I gave her the kids. But I had said I wasn't going to have kids until I could affect this world for the better. And now I feel a little bit like I'm behind the 8 ball because I said that I would do that, and I haven't quite done it yet. I'm working on it.
It's there. I don't have kids, but I work with them. And I think it's really important that no matter what, we are the mothers and fathers of this new paradigm, and we're here to shape it, create it, and bring it into collapse so it can cohere with everybody. And here we go. New paradigm.
Yeah, it's funny. It's very interesting, with like kids, because I've learned, sometimes they may disappoint you, and they may be characters that you wouldn't necessarily prefer in the book. You know, it doesn't actually change how much you love them, which is interesting. And you learn really quickly that if you're going to be their opposition their whole life, then you're not going to have them in your life. And that the best thing that you can do is sort of support them in the things that in the things that you don't necessarily agree on. Support them for who they are, and try to guide them by example. And I mean, honestly, it's the future, I think, of like just all of this across the internet and all the social media influencing. It's going to be really subtle. It's just going to be this subtle way that Arnie says what he says. Then I say what I say. And on some level, it's going to click for people more and more. I mean, because you see, it's just like a spiritual marathon. You get to a certain point in time, you're just like, oh God, I get it. I got the message. Oh, okay, never again. Not going to do that anymore. Okay, you win. And I think that we're all getting to the end of that place. And I think pretty soon we're going to arrive at that. Okay, what are we looking at here? Come on, can we do anything? I feel like it's like finally getting to that place where the conversations are moving just a little bit beyond the initial conversation or the explosion itself, whatever. There's just a little bit more thought going on, a little bit more swiftness of the conspiracy possibilities, are out there alongside the story as they like to say it happened.
Yeah.
All those things are going to add up to something. And, I really do think in the next like 2 years, we're going to see some change. I like to think that the underground news wire that I hear about Trump and so many other things, which up to the moment would say that Trump has been replaced, but at the same time, the military is like on the verge of like ending some of this charade. But the people in power have largely been in control of the media. So most of these things we haven't seen, and there is a decent amount of evidence to suggest that perhaps something like that may be happening. I'm hoping and I know energetically something like that is happening on the planet. So I'm hoping that that's true. It remains to be seen. All these, every piece of information, that we have, for the most part, is just, somebody telling us something. Granted, there are things that some people are telling us that sound more honest, and there are things that don't sound particularly honest. So we just kind of slowly but surely try to figure out what is the right thing. But I really do see like an alignment point, like as things become more in line, like it's really going to kind of blast off, and things are just going to transform very rapidly at that point. We'll see how it takes to get there.
It's the splitting. It's like you said, like Dolores Cannon, your 3D and your 5D.
The transcendental moment.
Yeah, it's actually past that moment, I believe.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? The Transcendental Man, like that's a great documentary. And like the reason why what Ray Kurzweil says in that documentary hasn't happened yet is because there's tinkering within what is brought to us, how long it's brought to us. There's a lot of like in a natural system, if the system was naturally sharing all of its information, what he said would have happened like a decade ago. But because of this like trickle down thing that we have where they're like constantly trying to kind of starve each other for certain bits of information and go around each other, who's going to own the thing more completely, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff stifles the progress of the info. But I think, and I'm hopeful, that before the technological one happens, we're going to have a spiritual one. And I really think that's kind of what's going on right now. I feel like we're getting into, literally, we are in the back where it just starts to lift. I think we're right here. We're just, there's a lift that's happening right now where it's become, it keeps going up by like quantities of absurdity. It just keeps going one more step into unbelievability. And that is where all of the people, just like when the stuff is no longer lining up anymore and they are hearing themselves speak and they're hearing how stupid they sound, you know, like that paradigm has already been set up. You know, the comedians have already pointed out where the lines are dumb. You know, it's a very interesting moment in time for me, like as a person, you know, because I was somebody who was always so liberal, generally, but I, you know, don't like to take sides. So I was like, you know, was a Democrat kind of guy, but watched it de-evolve into a lot of like covering for each other. And I was like, what is this? Like, you know, like I'm not like, I can't have my good guy party be a party of covering for Hillary Clinton or any other bad deeds done by any of these other people. And the idea that you're going to cover for that person and then that person, that like it's going to cover for people instead of like going, oh yeah, that's not one of the best ideas in our party. Get that out of here. Like that's what I thought we were supposed to be living under, you know. And then I watched as this group, like they just slowly got ratcheted into more and more gotcha, you're evil, you're Hitler, you're the sort of positions. And their target just got bigger and bigger. And I couldn't believe that all these people were still going along with it. And granted, you know, along the way, there's plenty of people who've been falling out, clearly. But it's amazing how many of the noisy ones have kept up with it. And I really do think that it all comes back around to that thing about making the media and all of like the important people have to play a role in the media. If you all have to have a LinkedIn profile, if you all have to have a Twitter, if you all have to have a Facebook, it really just takes all of their fake reality online. All of it. Everything that they want to be real is brought to the online universe. And if you want to be real in that online universe, you either better jump through some hoops or pony up some dough.
It's true.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it really is. It's like not nuts.
But I'm really hoping that we can get some of our lovely people to do some Amish mind setting and be a chain of help for your Kickstarter. I'm hoping to just, even if it's just sharing the link, to me, Amish mindset is using your energy either via your finger, your wallet, or just word of mouth, getting it out there, listening to the music and any of the other projects that you're doing. And if you're not inspired by the music, be inspired by something else and just help.
My dad's using it right now to lower his heart rate. I just sent him the link this morning. He's been listening to the record because he's been dealing with some heart issues. And you know, I had a person who on Twitter, they tagged one of their friends directly, and they just said, "Hey, you know, Stevie, you'll like this." That's like the biggest thing. That's the one thing that they can't do anything about when you go just directly to a friend. It's like you post it on your page, and even if you highlights and whatever else, it just ends up in the feed, you know. However, you go, hey, Frank, take a look at this. Frank gets that. He gets that from a friend. He gets that from a friend the same way he gets a video shared with him of like, oh, you'll think this is funny. Oh, you might like this. That's huge. So, you know, if anything that we've spoken about, or in general, if the project speaks to you, yeah, if you think of anyone, just send it directly to them. And you know, and if you don't mind adding, he's somebody who's spiritual like us. He's trying to do good in this world, and you know, and the system is really blocking the share of these things. We got on Brave Words, but no comments on the Brave Words. Like we got like a lot of places, but just like haven't, like it doesn't seem like it's really being seen by anything, even though we keep like getting some good press. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. Anything that you guys can do is really worthwhile. You know, send people my way. And like I said, again, Jessie Blaze at jessiesnider.com. Like you can email me or whatever. If there's podcasts or any places where I should go or anything that I should do to help get the word out about this, I am willing. So just let me know.
Absolutely. We're here for you.
I appreciate it so much. And I'm so jealous of this like crystal room that we've got going on here.
I made all of those.
I was gonna say, are they've got the copper coils and stuff in them and stuff, or what do you call that?
Organite.
Organite. Yeah. That's what it looks like. Very cool. So
I make all of it.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine and Michael Zins had made us these like little Organite coins, and I realized that I left mine at Michael's house, and I'm wondering if it's still in the place where I left it. I like hid it on a windowsill when I was meditating this one time, I've been meaning to message him and be like, can you go look and see if my organite is still there?
Yeah, I love these. These things are awesome. I
Yeah.
put them in all the electronic devices. It transmutes the energy.
There's so many cool things like that coming out right now. There's like hats that like block the Wi-Fi and things like that. I really kind of want to get myself into some clean clothing. Like a lot of our clothes have like the microplastics now and whatnot, and I want to like go through my wardrobe and see what I can get rid of and like what.
That's the thing for hemp.
Yeah, well, there's so many things.
Oh.
Certain like fabrics have actual frequency to it. Linen is pretty high in frequency. I know one of our lovely Carol Maureen Friesen, she has a place in Costa Rica, the Light Workers Institute, and she's all about the linens. She's like, I wear linen. That's a high frequency.
Yeah, I just heard about the linen thing, just like through like a meme or something like that, just a few weeks ago. But I had never thought about it in terms of anything else other than, cotton. Though I immediately went like, okay, well that's a plant versus the plastic, and we know how the microplastics are just showing up everywhere. So that seems interesting. Like, it's like some of these like tidy spandex pants, like I think that my girl wears, I think they're made of plastic. And like, so I want to get her some non, especially too, because they're tight, and so they end up in your pores. Yeah, it's so
we need shungite.
Shungite. Oh yeah,
I do that in water too.
I have that in my water as well. It's good. I have it in my garden.
Yeah.
But if we could get this somehow in clothes, especially like hats, with like Faraday cloth. I had to wear Faraday cloth for a year right before I moved from New York to Indiana because of how much frequencies of not okay things were being distorted in my field.
Yeah. I've honestly been wanting to like make myself just a little helmet. Just a little
Faraday cloth. But we need shungite.
Shungite paint even. They make that. Paint the house with that. Blocks the frequencies.
Yeah, it's interesting about the linen though. Like, because I didn't even realize, like, that's like a word that's used. I'm like, I didn't even realize it was was made of something different. And then I was just like, so we could be making our clothes from all sorts of stuff.
But look at the Amish.
Yeah. They make their stuff from linen?
A lot of the time, yeah. It's old school Amish, yes. But they have, I'm not for everything that they do and how they function, but a lot of their like ways of living, we really need to take a look at. Big time.
No, I like the Amish.
Everything natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's so crazy. I mean, just there's so many other options for the thing. If you just go back historically, and you'll see that, like, the Rockefellers or the Roosevelts, one of those, they ran the naturalistic healing schools out of the country. And they slandered the chiropractic, advocacy. And I mean, like, there's been a concerted effort to stop things that couldn't be copywritten and turned into, capitalist tools. So, I mean, really, that's it. It comes down to it. It's like when you're going to capitalize people's lives, like their health, and and when all of that stuff is not just considered, there's nothing that's like considered fundamental or anything else in a society. It's just a bunch of people getting together so they can argue with one another and and barter with one another. But like, if you don't have anything, then you don't get it. Like, this is just the fucking worst possible way of thinking about the things. It's so funny. I was told, or not was told, was I was saying something to my father, and I just said, for many, many years, I was very regularly saying, oh, well, they did that to me, as like an excuse for me doing something to them. And now, whenever I say that or see that, it just seems like, well, that's obviously stupid. You know, like they did this terrible thing. What should I do? You should do that terrible thing back to them. No, that's not what you should do. Don't do that. It's like
Yeah.
the lessening of the tensions would get us where we want to go. The perpetuating of the same thing, and now they think you're just as bad as they are. Like, oh great. Like, oh man.
You know?
Yeah, you almost had the moral high ground for a whole second, but you gave it up as fast as possible.
Mhm.
He did something really bad. He did. And then you just had to keep it going, didn't you?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, if you want, Jesse, I know you have obligations with your children. They're adorable. The one that was behind. I know they're very careful with not showing themselves. We're kid friendly, but yes.
Well, I thank you so much for having me, and I so appreciate your audience listening to all of this stuff, and you guys putting this together for me so that we could do something. And yeah, I love you guys, and I really means everything to me. And hopefully, some people find this and find their way to the campaign because of it.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
I need help.
Love
The
everything.
universe won't let me help myself. It keeps injuring me. I'm going to get hit by a car as soon as I leave here.
Cancel on that.
Yes.
You got 3 very spiritual, very high up there in spirit form here working overtime.
Oh, thank God. Apparently that's all I need. Hopefully that's all I need.
We got the Legion right now working.
The people that follow Ally are great, and they're gonna love everything that was said today. I know it.
I'm rubbing their titties. Titties. This is what this is how they like it. They droop their titties into your hand and go, yeah. They liked it. They said they're gonna help.
Spirit just has a very interesting way of how that help shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm kind of interested to see how this all shakes out by the end of it. I have a suspicion that something's happening. Even though I can't do anything, something is apparently it's happening. Something's in the works for me. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I believe. I have faith. I have faith, and I have the stamina to get through this. But whatever. But
Do you
thank
have a choice?
Yeah, no, I don't have a choice. Is the big thing.
No.
I used to threaten God a lot. I was like, I'm not gonna hang out here and do any of this bullshit anymore. But now
You're only threatening yourself. I come to that conclusion myself because I'm like you. Yeah, Arnie knows I'm also in that really horrible, painful struggle, and life is just throwing me for loops. And me and Arnie have been talking about right before we were feeling like we're tripping without having the drugs. We're like, woo, yay. Okay, so shit's happening energetically, and like, okay, let's collapse it here because it needs to be here so I could work with it.
Mhm.
I live too much upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, don't we all? I'm
And
ready.
it needs to collapse. So we're hoping that this collapses for you because if it collapses for you, then it's going to change the session for humanity. And that's the point.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I hope so. I think that's it. I just don't want to be responsible for delaying it any longer. So I'm just trying to be open and listen and adjust as it all shakes out so that, I just want to know I did my best here because I'm so tired of waiting and frustrated and it seems like easily everything could just transform overnight. And the idea that it hasn't yet on some level, it just you feel like you go back to the drawing board and you're like, is it me? Am I fucking this up somehow? Maybe
Divine timing.
people the right way.
It's divine timing. And I keep telling myself that, like, you got to be patient. And I'm an Aries, I'm a Virgo rising. And this shit's like, okay, patience. Okay, but for 42 and a half years, I've been patient.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like right now, I'm supposed to be in like this positive thinking sort of way of mind. I've spent like 15 years really having things kind of consistently blowing up in my face. And it's hard not to like be bracing for that on some level, just because it's like, oh man, I've been faithful this whole time. And like, and it hasn't come. So like, what's changed now? I mean, granted, I certainly have changed. But at the same time, the world doesn't seem to have changed. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
It is changing, and we're making a change.
Yes, we're making it.
Right now, this conversation is making a change.
I'd like to think so.
Yes,
Yes.
I believe so.
It's a different world than where we came from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think back freaking 10, 15, 20 years ago, how different everything was. It's much better now, even though it seems insane.
I have a part of me that's like, has anything even changed, or is it just the fact that we now have this little this earpiece and this little visual thing to like go into the interweb worlds and like look at everything? Like, has actual reality changed all that much? It doesn't really seem to have. But at the same time, for me, oh my God, my whole fucking Apple card has just been completely reversed, and it's just everything's been tossed into the air. Like, just figure this out, asshole. They seem to say to me. Okay, I'm working on it. I'm this close.
They're definitely working with you. So they're working with all of us. It's just a matter of when it collapses fully for humanity. It's collapsing individually for us, but it needs to.
It's getting past that frustration point. That's
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that's it. That's the big one. I mean, well, it's so funny though. It's like it's being spiritual and getting past that frustration point. It's like getting a tattoo. Tattoo starts. You're like, I don't think I can take much more of this. Period of time goes on, and you're like, all right, I guess I could take more of this. I'd rather not take more of this. And a certain person, he's like, this fucking tattoo's still going. You just keep adjusting.
Yeah.
Adjusting. You're like, am I sweating? What's going on? Oh, that's right, tattoo still happening. Woo! Forgot all about it for a second.
Oh man.
That's so true. I used to tattoo.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like you're getting used to being in the. That's how they cook the frog too. He gradually gets used to the boiling water. He's like, no need to jump out of here. You see, look at this. This is the polarity that we're under. This is true, and that's true. Just get used to it all. Oh man, I really like. I'm waiting for the new breakthrough. I said that to my mom too. I'm like, got myself to like a bad state of ahead of the curve where like I don't even have anybody to like turn to. Like I think I'm out of gurus. Like I'm dealing with shit that like I don't hear anybody talk about. So I don't know where I'm supposed to get any fucking advice for it. I don't know. And my mom's just literally like, you'll figure it out, honey. It's just like you're confirming that I've gotten to the place where there's no advice to be had.
We're all finding our tribe now. That's what it is.
But isn't it funny that like a lot of the tribal work is just going, yeah, this sucks, my friend. I feel like half of all spiritual medicine is going, yeah, it's fucking nuts. This is nuts. I agree. You're right. I know I'm right. I'm tired of being right. Tired of being right. Who wants to be right when like these are the answers? It's just fucking like that. It's better to not know anything and just for it all to be a mystery.
I just want to make a difference and help people.
Yeah, me too. I mean, but it's just it's a frustrating conclusion to come to. when you're looking out into a world that clearly is confused about what it is and what it's doing and what it's doing to itself. And so to be taught two things at once of like, oh no, look what we're doing. And the best part of this experience is when we're not looking at it and we're just enjoying it. But we're seeing it's been corrupted. Nah, that bridge is broken. Like if I just keep going down these tracks, I'm going to have to go after that bridge eventually, and I'm going to fall into the ravine. So I can't just be in the now quite the way that I want to be in the now. Or am I mistaken? Am I misaligned in suggesting that perhaps it is as simple as us all just going so deeply into the now that everything else just starts to rewrite itself as more powerful energy has been put into the now? Or is there a certain amount of calculating that must be done to unfuck the universe? You know, but that answer, Ally, seems kind of, I don't know, that seems sort of human. Versus perhaps it is as simple as, or at least on some level, as in tuning ourselves so strongly into the now and into gratitude and into faith that, you know, the combination of those forces is just infectious, and, you know, more and more people are just sort of pinned to that position because the energy can't be denied. You know, I don't know, honestly. You know, I keep trying to like downplay the violent part of the change. You know, like I don't want to argue with anybody. So, but do I want to try to poke holes in narrative? Do I want to try to go, you could also look at it like this? You know, is that helpful? Is it beneficial? I tend to think it is. Is it really? I don't know. And maybe I'm jumping into every one of these situations and I'm pushing these people further into a corner. And it's harder for them to get out of their position now, because now an even more powerful energy showed up and went, no, you're wrong. And they went, no, I'm not wrong. You know, and maybe even like I'm using my powers for bad, because on some subtle level, they could sense Jessie was a big deal energetically. He showed up and he tried to tell me that I was wrong, and I don't like that. So now did I use my powers for bad? And did I accidentally push them in, like really deeply into a corner? Because I showed up with really big energy trying to say, hey, think again. And now instead, I'm the Hatfields to their McCoys. You know, I'm not sure. I really am like on this, like, perhaps when we stop trying that it's all going to come together.
If that energy didn't show up, that thought would never be there then. At least that thought is there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some truth to that.
And you're a catalyst for that person to see deeper, and that was a contractual thing that needed to happen. We're the devil in someone's story.
Yes, but what if they've already got that? What if what we're dealing with right now is like this point of, like, if you put air into a bicycle tire and you do it too fast, it like will blow up a portion of the bicycle tire single, like lose its cohesion, right? So like say, and it's kind of a similar sort of thing I'm talking about, like say some person is confronted about their cancer, or they're confronted about the way they're handling something and they can't handle it. And they go into a little bit of corner, and because of the miracle of the internet, all these other people are funneled to them to confront them about it more. And instead what happens is there's like a doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on the situation that they're in because it became a thing. Mm-hmm. You know, I see this sort of energy going on around all the time, like in small ways. You know, granted, hard to sort of definitively say, oh, well, that's definitely that this time or anytime. But I also have seen that sort of energy in my life. You know, like with my sibling or something like that. And you're like, you know, you feel like you know something that you want to share with your sibling, but they don't want to hear it. And every time you have a conversation with them about it, they seem to like skip the conversation in a different way. And you're like, did they just purposely ignore me? Whatever, you know, and you don't realize that you're actually like backing them into a corner with something that they can't handle right now. They can't even talk about right now. And you're making them mad at you. You're making them find reasons to hate you because you're confronting them with a part of themselves that they're not ready to view. Mm-hmm. You know? So I know that that's possible as well. you know. And so there's definitely like there's a double-edged sword going on, you know. And I'm wondering, and literally like wondering this out loud as I talk to you guys, like wondering, is that path of least resistance where you were not resisting anybody, even in that way, but you were still humming in your way, and you know, you still get to make the post from your perspective, but a post from your perspective that's like a proper perspective is like a pro idea post, as opposed to an anti idea post, which is often the post that you and I might be like fighting against. Hey, you know, don't be so anti idea. There's a lot of different ways of looking at this idea, but we're going to say pro ideas, think about things in other ways. And will that get them there faster? Because now they don't feel oppressed by us, and now we're still in their hemisphere, and now they've seen some positive version of the magic that we were trying to beam to them, and now maybe they come to that easier. You know, it seems a little weird for me right now, like I'm in a capitalist paradigm, you know, I'm trying to sell a CD kind of thing or whatever, but at the same time, is it perhaps this thing where I'm supposed to really be not particularly calculated about a couple aspects of the campaign so that I can maintain a altruistic integrity about it, you know, on some level? You know, maybe that is it, you know. And on some level I'm already there because I accepted it multiple times as I was sick and whatever. I just got to a point yesterday where I was feeling just very stricken, and you know, yelling at the universe because I wasn't feeling like I was getting a lot done. But perhaps, you know, in one way or another, this is the really trying to bring me into like a piece about, you know, it's not about one idea in particular, it's not about one moment in particular, it's not about, you know, it's a cascade of them, it's about all of them. It's about being on the ride and being engaged with where it's going and what it's doing. And I am engaged and I am on the ride, and you know, and I certainly am not like freaking out the way that I would have been freaking out a long time ago. So have we improved there? Sure, yeah. But am I still in a little bit of doubt? And but at the same time, it does seem like that is a little bit more. It's got to be more the answer. Like perhaps us playing devil's advocate or whatever else is like a neutral response, and perhaps what is sort of being presented to me is a little bit more of a attracting response, a come to me if you will, I don't care. You know. Which and like and I like I have a hard time getting to I don't care, is and like that's what I keep kind of wrestling with to some degree. The I feel like I'm being led towards I don't care, but I don't like I don't care, and like I don't care feels like a betrayal of who I am because I've spent so much of my life caring so much. The idea of like really genuinely like I don't care, you know. Uh, yeah, I think that's it, you know, at
That's
least.
the humanness in you. I have the same problem.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's just so many different things to think about and care about, and like it just gives you something to do too. I think that's kind of more the problem with me, I guess, to some degree. I like I dive into my work and I distract myself with my work. I like working. I enjoy, you know, as long as I can see that, you know, I'm doing something for a bigger picture, you know, I'm happy to do that. So, you know, it's easy for me to forget that my teeth hurt and go jump into work, or forget that like, you know, there's other things that maybe are pressing or maybe I don't like or maybe I need to change or whatever, than it is to be dealing with life all the time. So, you know, that's there's a part of that too that I think is at play. I gotta I just hate that so much of them bringing me into balance so often seems like them just exacerbating some aspect of what I'm dealing with to such a degree that it is just completely unlivable. And then I'm just like, oh God, well, obviously I can't keep doing this. Like, and like make a change. And then like, And then they're like, we want you to change this too. And I'm like, but I like doing that. And they're like, well, we're going to make it so bad for you that you're not going to like it anymore. I'm like, ah. And then when it like gets there, you're like, you were serious about that?
I call those the shiv moments. They
Yes.
shiving you. They're shiving. It's like, hi, fuck.
Yeah, well, he's like, you don't know. Like, I didn't know you could make this thing that I like so bad. How did you make this thing that I like and have been choosing so often for so long so bad? It's really gotten bad. There were things about it that I didn't like yesterday, but oh God, I hate it now. And now, oh, too late. I've been doing it too long. Really hard not to do.
Sometimes when it is that hard, when it finally does shift, the reward is much better.
Well, yes. And I mean, as I understand it, this whole universe, and I think Ally said something to this effect, this whole universe was allowed to go down this path that it's on because the other side of it is the antithesis of fear and loneliness. And, the more we could experience these terrible vibes, the more we would have a renaissance on the other side of it of gratitude for us basically getting our head straight again. So, I mean, that's the nice part. That's what we have to look forward to, basically, no matter what. But this transition point right here, where it's like somewhere between real and torturous, and the reality starting to line up with, our minds and our understanding of a dominance within this mental sphere, as opposed to this sort of, being kicked around like a ball by the reality that we're in. And that's what we're taught, and that's what we're given. The moment we start to be taught, like, you are a shaper of this thing here, you're helping to bring this into alignment or take it out of alignment. Like that'll really change, I think, the game for everybody. And it's so crazy because every baby on planet Earth could be told the right things, like the simple right things, very early, and completely change their development. Like just overnight, if you're properly told, like, you're going to look like whatever you think you're going to look like. You are creating your reality. If you think it's great, then it's going to be great. If you think it sucks, then it's going to be sucky. Those are the keys that belong to every kid. And to us as well. But when you grow up without knowing that, you make a lot of mistakes and you create a lot of false infrastructure within the mindscape that will keep taking you on a lot of the same journeys over and over again until you start to see, like, oh, my apparatus here is all wrong. My dad is finally, from perspective from the mushrooms and whatnot, seeing, well, and also perspective from, he's got like a heart rate monitor and he's seeing what lights him up. And he's upset about everything. He's just like, I'm in the traffic and I'm realizing I'm leaning forward and, just becoming aware of your energy and where you're putting energy and how you're thinking about things. Like, that's the thing. And it tends to be a long journey. And the people, like, when people get onto this journey in the first place, they get attacked psychically by all the things that want to keep everything just the way it is. I mean, it really is a fucking nightmare. And honestly, like the big thing that I keep kind of coming to is, like, when I come to somebody like you and I come to somebody like you, I'm not having this conversation anymore like we might be crazy. I'm having this conversation as three people who understand what's really going on here, and that the energy and the idea behind all of the things that are happening are far more important than the actual little details and minutiae of what's going on. Big picture, this is what's going on. Big picture, this is what's going on. And people who are wise enough to recognize it need to start calling it what it is, being strong and in cahoots with one another in that space of, yeah, you guys are just doing some crazy things. And the voice of non-madness is going to stand up and come out there. We're going to grow all of our beards really fucking long. And we need to show up at the fucking Congress looking like Gandalf. And we need to be like, the long-bearded people have come to try and help society. We don't know where the long-bearded people have been for all these years, but we collected some, and we are here because we like to talk for a very long time, and we like to think about things, and we like to pontificate, and perhaps we will do better than you pieces of shit taking money to fucking poison us and not make any benefit. You know, like it's like us three people here. You take it in large against everything, and this is not an ego-saturated statement, but we are some of the smartest people on planet Earth, because real intelligence is about bravery. The people who are brave enough to recognize, yes, there may indeed be other beings on the planet. They may indeed be more advanced than me in some way. Yes, indeed, there may be weapons and things that could hurt me on the planet. There may be situations that could hurt me. There may be ideas that could hurt me. The people who are capable of bravely navigating these territories, getting past all of these taboos, and getting to the other side where they want to negotiate and help us figure out how to come together, these are the people we need. We need the people capable of having the really, really hard conversations and going to the other side. And we can't be timid about this stuff anymore. It can't be, well, everybody thinks we're crazy. No, they can catch up to us later. Like, I don't care. You know, you guys think whatever you want. You know, like, you think that every religious person on planet Earth is an idiot too. So great. And we're the ones with a more nuanced religious perspective. And you can think that we're just as stupid as well. But the actual, like, growing, you know, like the growing of, you know, what for better word might be called like the truther community, but it's a spiritual truther community that needs to be the leading force here. You know, people who recognize that we're all just warring with each other because we've been at war with each other for a very long time. You know, people who just recognize the things for what they are and can speak about the things about what they are, you know, where they actually are, not from this hyperbolic place of these people are that and this, but like, no. It's a much more simple but utterly, you know, nuanced conversation that is being had here about a bunch of individuals who are all one individual ultimately, who has been unaware of its oneness for a long time and has been ruffling its own feathers for quite a while. As soon as we go, okay, let's not do that anymore. Let's start working with the planet. Let's start cleaning the place up. Let's start being kind to one another. Let's start amplifying opportunity for people. We will be blown away. What happens is just the world will change overnight. And all these stupid people that, like, you know, are worried, you know, there will always be worried people. There's always going to be fear. And we can't let those people be the leaders of this group anymore. Just at all. We really, like, it's just, we can't allow any of these people to shut us up. You know, it's like this conspiracy theorists of the world. Yeah, the conspiracy theorists are winning 11-0 as far as I've checked. So, like, you know, maybe call me something else other than right. That's, you know, you're really just helping me out here. but it's just the facts. Like, seriously, like, everybody out there, you know, who is paying attention properly to what's going on, can't let people push us around anymore. And we need to try and stay out of their arguments the way they're having them. You know, just not play the game the way they're having the game. You know, try to cleverly, you know, explore topics that people are exploring already, but in ways that they're not even going to realize they're exploring the topic, and they're learning about the thing and they're understanding the thing. You know, it's time to change the game and go about it a major way. Because like what we've got here in our society is a lot of phonies who don't really believe what they're saying, doing most of the talking. And then there's a bunch of scared people who don't know what to believe, who to believe in the middle. And until people like us start speaking from the bottom, from a place of real power and real, like, no, I'm not having that conversation. Like when Charlie Kirk passed away recently, you know, I said, no. Are you guys seriously just accepting this shooter that they've given you the next day, and you've already moved on to the argument about whether or not he was a conservative or he was a Democrat? No. That, like, crazy people don't go into broad daylight in front of 3,000 people and shoot a man when he's being live streamed on multiple. No. I tell you what, man, no. Most people who have never been conditioned to some sort of environment where there's lots of energy around and whatnot, that was a professional hit that went down in front of people's faces because they wanted you to see it. This is the conversation we need to have, not this other conversation that wants to say, oh, he was a conservative, he was a, oh my God. No, this was a hit from on high, from government-linked officials to scare you, to scare me, to get a certain response out of the population, to make us fight, to make us afraid to speak up. Serves a lot of purposes. So, we can't let them just continue on the narrative as usual. We have to go, this is what we're seeing here, and we've seen it before. That has to be the step of the way. We have to redefine the conversation, the way the conversation is being had. Because up until now, it's just been being had at our, to a deficit to anybody who is trying to point out anything contrary to the plot. But finally, the power has shifted where there's enough room to get out the proper narrative of things. And you can even get it out early. But, to a certain degree, that Charlie Kirk, that did go out relatively early. By the next day or two, people were talking about all these things. And the conversation didn't quite shift as swiftly to, was he a Democrat, was he a Republican, like everybody wants to. I really do think, we can take this thing here, but it's got to be, and granted, this is like Jesse, 20 years after his dad finally did some mushrooms and saw what he saw. And so I know Dad knows what I fucking know, at least to some degree. And I'm sitting here going, all right, cool. I'm not waiting for anybody else anymore. I was waiting for him. It is easier said than done. I was waiting for him a little bit. I've been opening my mouth more and more, but to a certain degree, I was going like, shit, I really need, my loved ones to get where I'm at, because I need them to understand that there's some serious stuff here. This is really for the betterment of everybody, and not enough people are understanding, and the people who are understanding, we have a responsibility to do something. This is crazy. We are so misaligned. There's an absurd misalignment. The fundamental nature of ourselves is being kept from us, and they know, and they're doing bad shit with that information, and they basically have a breakaway civilization. While all of us are left to just suffer because of all of the ideas that people have planted in our heads about being a man and being a woman and being a father and being a human and being a person and being an American and being, oh my God, just a whole bunch of roles that they've invented, and they were all puffed up. They're not real. There's some fundamental stuff, to some of these things. I wish I could speak to every LGBTQ person in the country. I'm non-binary. And, I just always knew inherently that even though I'm very feminine, that there were girls out there who had the masculine energy that I was looking for. And I've never had any trouble. I love my girlfriends are beautiful and just wonderful people. They're boss bitches, they really are. People have a problem with that. That's what I like. I like that because I'm super hyper sensitive and creative and do a lot of stuff, and I like women who are tough. My mom's really tough. I like girls like that. I think a lot of boys. I'd spoken to a fan of mine. So he basically told me, he said, my friends knew I was gay before I did, and I said, what? Hold on a second. I said, we just gotta go back a second, because look, there's nothing wrong with you being gay, or if you want, if that's coming from you, that you're gay, great. But you just told me that your friends knew before you knew. That sounds to me like you didn't know what you were, and you were probably presenting as I present, feminine. I'm pretty feminine when I'm with friends and stuff, and my hands will go limp, and I'm running around, and I'm more of a gay man or something, when I'm in my private time. I'm that doesn't mean you're gay. You're having a superficial world that's been taught feminine features, feminine qualities means gay. That doesn't mean that at all. We're all beings that have equal masculine and feminine energy. Well, not equal, but we all both have both of them. And you might have really high feminine energy and really low masculine energy. You might have them in balance. Generally speaking, I think all of us are being worked towards a balance, and that we're supposed to be getting to a place where we're capable of defending ourselves and being intelligent and all these things that protectorate masculine might do, but we're also capable of empathy and kindness and, you know, connecting with our feelings and all these things that the divine matron might do, right? So a balance of these two things is the goal, which means you're going to end up at some point in time a lopsided or partially one way or the other sort of being. And, you know, like the trans community, like they should know, if you're feeling more feminine, it's probably because you've been a female before. But if you're in a male body now, it's because you chose to put yourself in a male body. So then why would you choose to put yourself in a male body if then you were then going to choose to have people put knives into your body and cut your thing off and like be all mad and upset about yourself and that like it was all wrong? Like clearly this is a intellectual journey that you've put yourself on, and it should be that bringing this additional thing into the equation where we're like running against what the fundamental nature of yourself is not helpful. It's just going further down that rabbit hole of illusion of what you are, and like because you're just a thought, and the thought happened to be a boy this time or happened to be a girl this time because you in cahoots with all the thinking thought that that was a good idea. Now you're here and you got buyer's remorse or whatever, like, and like that's cool. That's a process that some people go through, and you can go through it, but it doesn't have to be gone through in this way where anything is automatic. There's no I'm feminine, so I like boys. Like, no, I've never liked boys. I always like girls. I always love girls. Love girls. Girls are great, you know. But I don't like girls who are afraid of bugs. You know, like I don't like girls who are like really like dainty. I like tomboys, you know, who would play soccer with me. And like, you know, like those were my favorite girls. I'm like, yes, hell yeah. These are my people. They're in balanced energy. I have more feminine energy, but I've got a slightly balanced too. And you would find your people. So like the whole way the world is delivered to us now. And I mean, and then even you get into things like, how much money do you have? What's your job? What's your status? Do you have a car of some kind? You know, even the fact that these videos exist of people demonstrating, you know, sort of gold digger behavior, like, oh, this is your car. Now I like you now. Oh my God, what kind of messages is that sending to every little boy in the world? Right? Like this is a real thing. It's a real misaligned thing, but it's a real thing. And like, and how many people are learning that from this matrix, the way it rolls out, that like money is everything and having the nice watch, and what does that really mean? It's such a strange place this place is. You know, once you really see it, you know, because all the things that you recognize aren't serving us well, you then realize like, oh man, those are all the things being amplified in this place. You know, it's like this, the English language, it puts us in the past tense. It puts us in the future tense. It genderizes us. It obfuscates or polarizes things we're saying. I understand. I'm in my driveway. I'm driving on the parkway. You know, there are just all these inherent inversions all over the language that the more you understand about consciousness, the more you go, ooh, that wasn't a good idea. Like, who's fuck? And then the more you understand about it, the more you go, ha 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 ha, good idea, Satan. like, whoa, that's a good idea. You made a really, really, it's gonna be hard to convince people that your bad idea is actually bad. And there's a lot of that going around in this world, just a lot of seemingly good ideas, but
that is truth.
This was a cathartic day. I appreciate it.
We all needed it.
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's cool. The thing with my dad. It's really like a big deal. You know, he's been coming around to this for a very long time, but I mean, It's interesting. It's like all of a sudden everything that we've been saying to him just went. He's had like 15 years of us all talking about illness and energy, energy causing illness, and he's seeing himself with his father. He was recognizing things about, difficulty between mine and his relationship, which I saw a long time ago. The only problem is how much I love him. That's it. It's really the only problem. He's a human and he's making mistakes. But when you idolize somebody and they also end up being your like disciplinarian, creates a really weird dynamic. And my dad, basically came to the realization of just how much he admired his dad, that he was his dad's biggest fan, just like me. And in this instance, he just went, oh my God, I know what being the biggest fan of my disciplinarian did to me. It put me in this strange, paradox where I was madly in love with him, obsessed with him on some levels. But then at the same time, secretly very upset, very sad that some of these exchanges weren't going, in the way that lives up to a hero, because as you're my hero. It's like every little thing could disappoint you at that state of the game. It's like, I know, I feel it sometimes with my son. Like, I know I'm his hero, and like it's like, oh, I couldn't quite show up for him there. Like, sometimes I can't show up for Parker. She wants something and I'm just exhausted. Like, I'll say something and I'll be like, oh, the hero just disappointed. It's like, oh, I could see it happening in real time. And it's a difficult thing to get around, but it's an easy thing to see once you get those goods delivered to you from like a good meditation or plant medicine experience, whatever. So he just went, whoa, oh, I see like so many things like that. Like, I see what the problem was. And what a relief too for me. Cause it's like, I had this journey 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, I think we're a great family and we get along great. We really like each other. We're supportive, but at the same time, there was just, some things like everybody's got. But I was like, these are surmountable. We can fix these. And for 10 years, I was trying to fix things. And every time I tried, we'd get into a big argument. I trigger my dad, I'd trigger my mom. Then they would be triggered. They'd trigger me because I wasn't over the things, which is why I wanted to talk about them. I'm like, they're small, but I just want to talk about them. And then we'll blow through it. It'd be great. And then at a certain point in time, I just realized like, oh, well, I have to get over this stuff myself. Like, I'm not supposed to talk to them about it, talk with them about it. I'm supposed to just, make peace with it. And I did. And I mean, it's like, it's all fucking water under the bridge. And really my family are so wonderful. I mean, like, I like to think about it like they kept me from the freaking lizards and they kept me from the Illuminati and they kept me from these secret societies. If my dad was a different guy, he would have been in them. He'd be one of these people, helping this system. And we're outside of it. And I like that because I don't like this system at all. I don't want to even feel like I'm in cahoots a little bit. So, it is a fucking journey and a half though. Like, and you think that this moment is like never going to come. Like, I'm sure you guys have some people in your lives who you're like, oh yeah, am I going to eventually hear that about so-and-so? Like you're hoping one day maybe some of these things will come around, but it's really crazy. I mean, like I genuinely feel like, ooh, can I start telling my dad about some really nuts things now? Like,
they're not nuts.
I know. Well, I mean, again, you're right. See, Arnie, you're telling me exactly what we need to not make them nuts. They aren't nuts. They are not. I just know that generally speaking, he would think so.
Not anymore.
It's just, it's the level of insanity of like, really, what is here as possibility. It's just remarkable. From that perspective, it's like being in like going to visit Jurassic Park for the first time. And I'm just sort of like, when does this amusement park really begin? Because I see what's hiding at the edges. and I'm pushing in that direction, and I see the universe itself helping to push in that direction. When does this whole thing transform? When do I get to see the elemental being that is Godzilla dealing with the ancestral karma or whatever the fuck it is that he does in his spare time while I'm on my trip to Japan? And there's Godzilla outside. There's King Kong, the heart of the earth. They all exist. All of these things are concepts that exist in the mind because they exist in reality somewhere. That I've never been more sure of. It's just a matter of, are we going to open our minds enough to let things like that into this reality?
Like Star Trek.
Yes.
All that technology, that's we're being shown what we're not given.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting talk with about Roddenberry and whether or not he was visited and all this stuff. The non-interference is absolutely a thing that's going on in the subtlety of these federations of planets and all this stuff. I've had I've been told by the other side to basically chastise them a bunch of times, and I've ordered these watchers to get in the game because I think it's high fucking past time. And they're still under these rules and assumptions from when they used to show up on Earth. We would worship them as gods. So at a certain point in time, they said, we're going to stop doing that because I think it's having a worsening effect. But now that there's people like me and you guys here, it's like, we're not going to fucking worship them. So send them down. Get your asses out here. Like,
we are them.
We are you. Like, I know that I'm you. Like, I'm not going to fucking sit here and fucking worship you. So, like, come in, get in here. You could do things. You could hack systems. You could bring food. You could bring aid. You could do so many. You could do things invisibly, and I see that there's no evidence of you guys doing it. I'm really like very aggravated, and I think like this like there was nobody here to say any different for a little while. Apparently, I have authority to say something like that to them. So I literally was like lighting them up for a few weeks about just like their plan of action, how they're fucking going about everything based on what I can tell. You're channeling some messages through a few fucking people. Like, that's basically what I could figure out you're actually doing. Meanwhile, we got Japan, fucking Russia, and the United States in cahoots helping these fucking future versions of ourselves graze, working with mantis aliens and lizard beings, freaking doing all the shit that they want to do. And you guys are just channeling and crop dusting? What the fuck is going on here? Get in here, do something. We're being mucked with on high by other beings, and you're not doing anything to counteract it? I'm like, haven't you seen any of the Star Trek movies? The fucking crew of the Federation goes, well, we have to do something, and they do something because they go, it is a moral imperative that we do something. So I literally have been sitting here like yelling at like some of these, the Federation of Planets as I'm channeling them, going, how have you guys not found that there was a moral imperative going on and there wasn't a need to do something? I'm like, have you really become so academic in like your beinghood? Oh yes, we must stay away from the earth. Like, we need fucking help. It's crazy. There's too much evidence of their involvement in one way or another, and that they're fucking close by to get no help whatsoever in this situation. Nothing unifying, nothing rallying. Like, all of it has to come uniquely, individually from us. I don't think that's actually true. So, I find this whole paradigm with these higher beings who are here, these watchers, really fucking pissing me off. Because essentially, yeah, they're us. And people like me, it's like, honestly, like I can only say this on my own behalf, but there was a certain point of time where it became cruel and unusual punishment to have informed me of all the fucking things that they informed me of, and to have me still fucking living on this planet, going about everything like it's all fucking normal, and nothing changes. There's no interaction with these fucking beings or anything other than when I go into one of my deep meditations, when I'm actively fucking searching for things. Here, I can find some stuff, but once I have come into the understanding of what's really going on, there's no, hey, Jessie, we are here, we're working out. There's no coordination. I'm just stuck here. I'm stuck here. I'm aware that I'm one of them. I'm aware that I'm here to try to help, and they're where? Nowhere to be seen, doing God knows fucking what. So, like, it really is a bit of an absurdity for me at this point. And now we're going full steam ahead into Project Bluebeam, And still, I thought by the time we got somewhere near there, there'd be more coordination, there'd be more communication, there'd be more information coming out to counteract the whole fucking blue beam thing, and for there to be like here's the narrative, and then here's the truth that we're talking about. But generally speaking, all these fucking channeled messages and everything, it's just the same fucking bullshit over and over and over again. It's the law of one and the raw material, and occasionally this little piece of information, occasionally that little piece of information. It's all the same shit. When really we need what do we do? How do we fucking flip this government? How do we fucking get control of our lives here? How do we take control of our health? Like, that shit shouldn't be that difficult. Like, I don't understand why more human beings have not been privy to the healing powers of some herb that's somewhere here, and then they're sharing it with all the different people. Like, there are things that I can imagine that we could do to flip this whole fucking script. And if I can imagine it, then it is possible. So the fact that none of it has happened, and I'm like infinite fucking things that I can imagine of how we could go about this, I don't understand what is stopping any of this stuff from happening. And I mean, clearly there's got to be something going on that I don't understand, but it really does seem like a slacking off, like a malaise that these other beings have gone into because they've just been doing this wait and see thing for so long.
Not only that, I mean, think about this. I mean, they, like you're saying, that like the other beings that are here, they're here and they're working with the government. So the non-interference, it's bullshit,
because the non-interference is countered by the fact that there is interference.
Because they make an agreement with a certain few and not the whole. You can't do that.
And how are you guys not sabotaging that? How are you guys not fucking getting in the way of things like that? I mean, it's really crazy. Like, I was told, once again, like, I had to yell at the Greys and command them to stop what they were doing. The Greys have fucked up their humanity. They connected with technology. They're future versions of us who no longer have souls. They've come back here trying to intermix with our genetics, trying to create something where they can get, a soul back into the body. The problem is, they left spirituality behind a long time ago, and their means to get back to having a soul is more technology and more of the same bullshit that fucking got their soul separated from them in the first place. They are just quadrupling down on the folly that they have already made. And they are going about things in a way that is actually karmically fucking them even more, because they're treating higher beings like we're animals, and they're freaking knocking us unconscious, taking them onto their ship, doing whatever we want to do, leaving a couple little memories, whatever else, and then taking people back to the planet. And what they're doing is just creating fear, creating anxiety, creating all these like intense experiences, when what they should be doing is directly communicating with all of the people who they want to have any sort of experience or any sort of exchange with, getting a sign off, a willingness to help them. That is what spiritual beings do. And I literally was like, I had to dress them down on behalf of whatever fucking status my soul has. And apparently they are not operating the same way that they were operating anymore since this thing. Because I didn't, my girlfriend used to get abducted regularly, and I got caught up in one of them one time, and I woke up and I was pissed off when I figured out what was going on, because I had previously said, "Don't you fucking touch me! Don't you dare! Don't you use any of your technology on me! You do not have my permission." And I like lost my mind. And it's funny because when I went to go talk to my mom about this, she told me that she woke up and had a similar experience. They were taking my dad. And these beings, the amount of people who are being taken willy-nilly, this time, that time. My girl had said that she remembered a dreaming of like a thing that she was taken to, and my dad had been taken to it as well. He was there in the dream. And I'm not 100% that any of those are false dreams or if she's remembering little pieces from this stuff. But this tinkering that is going on, these people are literally here trying to like get the benefit of our genetics and trying to like learn to fix themselves. And they're treating us like we're a bunch of fucking animals. It's crazy. And nothing is being done to stop it. The amount of of darkness that has been allowed to like infiltrate this system and like really take root here, I just find rather disgusting, because it seems to be that instead of a balanced approach to the way they would handle the quarantine of Earth, they just like washed their hands of us and have let everything go on ever since. Essentially, like the biggest rally for anything that I've heard is that the secret space program was on the edge of the galaxy, and they let one of these space things through, and then they shut a wall and told them to come back to Earth and fucking clean up your house before you can go anywhere else. And I mean, like, the one thing you did was you forced some of our powerful secret people to come back to Earth to do something about this. That's it. Well done, assholes. Like fuck these guys. Seriously, like this idea that they're the betters, and oh no, people are gonna come down, people are gonna work. I'm not worshiping your asses. Get your asses down here. Start fucking helping. I'm really just I'm like over the moon about it. Like I really just tired of all this propaganda, the level at which it's getting up to, and I would love to have some conspiracy theorist propaganda to push back on some things happening on the planet that show signs of something else beyond the powers that be and beyond the narratives that we hear. It's so frustrating to me that to see and experience on so many deep levels that there is so much support and so much help out here all around us, and to know that it is actually having like this much actual practical effect on this planet. It's really just stupid. I mean, just like, and there's so many aliens who like look human. I mean, just the money is digital. They could be fucking filling up people's bank accounts like mine to help me do the shit that I wanted to do tomorrow. Just done. There it is. Thank you. Okay, awesome. And that I'm like, I'm not gonna go fucking spend it on hookers. Like I'm trying to fucking do some good on planet Earth, and like it's really difficult. And they could help. So like it's really like that shit has become like my final piece. I'm just like, for this long, I've known that you guys have existed. And I've been sitting out here and I've been asking for visitation. I've been asking for direct conversation, and I haven't fucking gotten it in a decade. And I am past the point of being patient with them. I think that this is a borderline narcissism and fucking cowardice, and like, oh, well, now we don't know what to do because we haven't done anything yet. And like, fucking shit or get off the pot. It's time to come in here and help the human race, and to help the people like us who have volunteered for this place, to know that we're not all alone, and we're not, we know we're not fucking crazy, but you know what? It's like, it's really getting aggravating. It's like just like waiting for the Bigfoot to come out behind the tree. We've been sitting here for 30 years. We just come out. We know you're behind the tree. Say hello. There, was that so hard? See, everybody sees the Bigfoot now. We told you there was a Bigfoot. we told you. Okay, moving on. Past the Bigfoot. On to the next thing. Just one thing at a time. I just want to see it, like, knock it off. Knock it off the list. One at a time.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to tackle the hard stuff or the stuff that just the little things. Fairies, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster. Those are little things that we all know exist, and that, okay, move it on, show it, move on to the next thing. And the little intervals of time go by, the bigger this stuff gets, it acclimates people to going, oh, okay, I thought that was true. Ah, now you're seeing it. People need tangible evidence still.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. We're so arrogant. That was my big lesson when I like opened myself up with the mushrooms, because I realized that I wasn't willing to take somebody's word for it. I wasn't willing to like get an interview and like consider that as any sort of evidence. And I went, all right, I'll consider it as evidence. Let me see. And I started watching interviews of people who'd been abducted by aliens and stuff. And I was like, a few dozen in, where I started going, I'm an asshole. These people clearly have gone through something. Like, and I'm just kind of, up until now, I've just been sitting here going, you guys are dicks. Like, shut up. like what a jerk I am that I just like I couldn't hear it, I couldn't acknowledge it, any of this stuff. It's really like it's just the height of arrogance. This, being so backed into your corner of choice. This the only corner there is in the whole universe. There are no other corners. Yeah. If we keep this up, it's not going to be good for that other part of the earth that's splitting in half. But I guess that's what it's meant to be there. It's just so strange to me, the idea of like just how different consciousness can be, and like what's going to even happen to consciousness over the next few decades if things are allowed to develop the way they would naturally. And that's just how long is it going to take for us to get to that place where things are, kids are being told what they are. People are walking around recognizing that they are as to God with power to control their reality, to change the universe. That that their doubts are rendering other people, filled with doubts. They're holding people back. You don't think you can fly? Well, if we all thought we could fly, then we could fly. It's really just such a interesting tapestry, and I look forward to seeing it unfold. I know it's going to surprise me, and it's going to work out. I know that much, but I'm just still in the point of like frustration, going, I don't understand this bullshit. I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Do your thing.
It is. Well, should we call it an evening? I mean, you guys have certainly given me your all, and I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. And I have one more thing to send around. Now, we'll call this interview the madness, and we'll just send it to people. Like, here's a little bit of the madness.
The energies are maddening. So yes, absolutely.
Well, I love this.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me and for doing this with me, and anytime, of course. And I've got more fun things that I'll be doing in the future, and we'll talk about those things. Let me know as fun shows and stuff come up. I'm happy to come and join you guys. But thank you guys very much for being with me and having this deep conversation. I feel a little better, actually.
Cool.
Yes, much love.
I love this stuff. I go on for days too. I can just go on and on talking, because it's amazing. You go from one subject to another subject to another subject to another subject, because there's just so much shit.
Matter, Well, it's just all, there's all like a root to it all, but it just it scales up. Everything scales up.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, well, I'm gonna go celebrate my one of my nephew's birthdays and hang out with the babies. But thank you so much for hanging with me, guys. I love you both, and yeah, talk soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes. See you later, guys. Peace.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ally.
Thank you, Arnie. Have a nice night, everybody. Thank you for joining the channel. And this will be up with all of Jessie's information. The links will be there. Also for Arnie, all of them is always on my lives. And after the lives, all that stuff will be there for you guys to check out. I also planted it in the chat a bunch of times so that you can find his Kickstarter and all the information for all of us. So it's Amish Mindset. Let's support each other.